What is up, guys? Just waiting for Jesse and Max to get here, so just bear with me on that. Okay, just bear with me for a moment here, guys. Get those guys over here. And all right, so those invites are sent out. Hey, Crypto Holmes, how you doing, my friend? How are you doing? All right. You came in. We came in a little bit early today, so I think we weren't going to do it till 4, but I had some time, so troops, so to speak. Craig, I made it. Thank you, sir. Happy Sunday. Thanks for all you do. No problem, brother. No problem. Happy to help. Happy to be here, guys. So we're just waiting for the boys to get their invites and stuff, and oh, there's Jesse. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Pretty good, buddy. Pretty good. Originally I figured we'd do about 4:00 Central to make it work, but then I was like, well, I'm sitting here on a Sunday afternoon, so I messaged you guys and see if you guys were, see if you guys were available. So we got in early.
Yeah. No, I'm all for starting it early.
Yeah.
I think with the different time zones, for some reason, I was thinking it was. I guess I was thinking it was now, but you said 4 Central, right? So it would have been an hour from now, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it messes me up too, because what's your time again?
I'm on Eastern.
You're Eastern, I'm Central, and Max is actually Mountain.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of wonky. So I figured a good topic. Obviously, everyone wants us. What everyone wants us to talk about. So, damn well. Yeah, a lot of. What do we got here? A lot of questions about the AMA and confusion, right? So,
okay.
Did you get a chance to really go over it much, or?
I haven't seen the official write-up from KJ yet. And from what I've seen, it's a little bit hard to follow because it's almost like every ambassador's set of questions, and then they each posted their set with the responses, is kind of how it looks.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I did read through them though. Yeah.
Yeah. There is some hot topics. I got to be honest with you. We got way more answers than I was anticipating we would get.
Yeah.
Or not so much answers, but way more acknowledgement of the questions, I guess would be a better way of putting it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But hey, I'll take it, right? So, I mean,
what is this doing? Let me see here. I'm trying to connect to the chat.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, are you streaming too, or?
Connect your YouTube account to join the live chat. I think I just did that. I think I did that. Maybe I didn't. I don't know.
I'll read some of the comments while you're trying to do that there. Crypto Home says, hello, everyone. Craig says, I made it. Thank you, sir. Happy Sunday. Thanks for all you do. Satoshi featuring Ezug. Hey, Max is here. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Welcome in.
Hey, good to see you. Oh my goodness, Yoda! It's like you sit on that Jedi console you got over there,
Is
right?
my video frozen on your side?
Yes, it is. Is it frozen on yours, Max?
Yeah. Weird.
Nope.
Okay.
That is kind of weird though. But
Just
yeah.
just Jesse's. Yeah, Jesse's was like frozen. I think he was trying to connect to the chat or something like that.
Now we lost him though.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to connect. He's monkeying with something. I'm sure he'll be back.
You actually have a live show going on right now, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you streaming on your end?
No.
Okay. I'm new to this. Thanks, by the way, for recommending StreamYard to me.
Oh, no problem.
I'm new to the StreamYard, so I don't know. From my understanding, we can probably stream at the same time, eh?
Yeah. If I knew you were going to get StreamYard, I think I would have hooked you up with a referral link, but it's all good.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I didn't. But hey, you know
Yeah.
what? I haven't officially signed up yet, though. I'm still just using the free version. So if I can use your referral link for that,
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Well, then cool.
I'll click on your link there in your. I'm sure it's in the bio, isn't it? In your videos.
No. It's something I would have to, because not everybody's going to be, a content creator. So I never put that in there. But I'll shoot you over a link. So I'll remember to do that.
Cool. Yes, fire that over to me, and I'll sign up there. I didn't realize, like I said, I was just learning the kind of functionality of it and stuff, and didn't realize that. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a free service, but then you only get like 20 hours free service, I guess, a month or something like that of streaming.
5 hours, 20, something like that. Yeah. It's not too bad. I mean, I think I'd probably use the free version. If it didn't I like the idea of having a custom logo. I think it allows you to obviously do more hours. And then there's a few other features I was just like, well, I need to do the paid one. But I only do the 720. I mean, at the end of the day, does everybody really need to see this in 1080p? It's not like they're playing a video game,
Yeah, no kidding, eh? I'm just messaging Jesse there, see if he's having tech problems. We were just kind of getting into discussing what we're going to be likely covering a lot of, and it's fairly obvious, the whole AMA, right?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of had my own response to that as well, which I'll share with you guys. I've also was going to address, I was going to do like a live show, probably address it tomorrow because I had some plans today. But I'm definitely going to, share my own 2 cents in regards to some of it. I just think there's a lot of outside chatter. And then, I mean, I understand a lot of people were upset about the whole thing of, like they're kicking the can down the road in regards to the whole thing of the lockup. And, it's just like the way I look at it is, to be honest, was anybody really expecting anything different, but
well, I walked, I mean, we're going to go through it kind of point by point, but
sure.
I found it honestly, personally, for lack of a better, I don't want to say we got more answers than I was anticipating, but we definitely got more acknowledgement of our questions than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing. I mean, Hara, and like I said, we'll get into it, but Hara acknowledging his disappointment in the price action and his commitment to moving forward to finding more utility to kind of help with that was definitely very, very bullish for me. He's back.
I'm back. What's up, Max?
Hey, how's it going, Jesse? It's nice to finally, meet Yoda.
Thanks.
I mean that as a compliment. The way I look at it is like all you guys sit on the JASMY Jedi Council over there or whatever, and it's like you've been doing this, you've been covering JASMY, I think at least you're ahead of me. So the way I look at it is I'm kind of, I don't know, I went from Padawan to, just a regular Jedi Knight or whatever, and you're like sitting over here like Yoda.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks for putting all the great time in long before me and other people,
Yeah, there's a lot of hours, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. That's for sure.
more blood and tears.
Yeah, I know. A lot more tears.
Oh man. So I guess we were like I discussed with both of you separately there. I mean, we'll probably get into a lot of other topics, but I guess we should probably start with the AMA and just kind of go through a couple of points on it. And the first thing that Max and I were just kind of discussing was the acknowledgement that Hara gave in regards to his disappointment with the price action and his commitment to wanting to do something about that, right? What are your thoughts on that, Jesse?
Well, obviously that's one of the things I think that a lot of people look at, especially all of us investors all around the globe. JASMY's always been a great idea, but you gotta marry the coin to that idea, and I think that's been the thing that's held it back. TVL, total value locked. Need to start locking up some money in there, and I think you'll see the coin going up in value, right? I do like the market maker, and I think the market maker has made a lot of difference in the chart. And the chart overall right now seems to be on the up and up. So could it be further along? Yes. When the chain comes out, the TVL is really going to matter, and that should influence it pretty significantly. So, I mean, I can understand the frustration, but at the same time, you kind of need a few dominoes to fall.
Yeah. What about you, Max?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one way of looking at it. I mean, I see where Jesse's coming from. I see where a lot of people are coming from in that regard. JASMY has always been this one that I look at. It's like, I'm not into this for what's going to really happen by the end of the year. I'm looking at what's going to happen by like the end of 2025, for instance, or this mention of 2026, which sounds crazy when we really look at the bigger picture. Like a lot of people look at like 2026. That's like the next crypto winter if you follow these cycles and so on. And I would tend to agree with that. But at the same time, it's like, well, it is Japan. And you also have to keep in mind, a lot of us were under the impression that the fourth quarter lockup is literally our fourth quarter of last calendar year. And it doesn't work that way in Japan. It's a totally different culture, totally different way of looking at the calendar. So it is going to be interesting, but I do see all points of view.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the topics that Hara had mentioned was that he thinks, in his opinion, that having the PDL activated and the coins kind of, for lack of a better word, TVL locked up, so to speak, right? That he feels that the impact of the bear market won't be as impactful on the price of JASMY moving forward with an active PDL. What do you guys think? Do you think he's right, or do you think that that's wishful thinking?
I'll let Jess, you want to go on that? I got an answer for that, but do you want to start with that?
No, have at it. You can kick that one off.
All right. So here's honestly the way I look at it. And I honestly think this is like a realistic way of looking at it. Look at where we were last bear market. Some people still feel as though that we're in the bear market. I would agree to disagree. I honestly think that, if you look at like BTC and you see that we're up like 114% compared to January 2022 or, last year alone. It's kind of safe to say that like we really have a lot of momentum. Keep in mind everything that was bad that happened in crypto winter, all the doom and gloom, JASMY scam, all this stuff. And then, you get the people that decide, the heck with this, I'm out of it. I'm tired of promise utility and whatnot. So remind yourself, if you've been in this journey with JASMY, of all the FUD and all the malarkey that's happened, now look at where we're going with this layer 2 scaling solution with optimism. Look at the whole thing, for instance, this Web3 cloud storage solution with Polkadot. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, okay, the whole point of all of this, whether it's me doing lots of research or Jesse, whoever, is will there actually be utility that's in place? you know. And some people say, well, you don't really currently have that as we speak. They get it. What year are we in now? We're in 2024. And the way I look at it is, I would have to agree with Haro with what he's saying, because it's what's going to come here soon. So with these things put into place and looking at it from the perspective of whether it's a bull market or a bear market, it's the utility, right? And so if we have these scaling solutions and we have the actual PDL on this, you know, thing with optimism and so on, we have the utility of the PDL being safely stored somewhere, right? With this Web3 cloud solution, I'm looking at it from this perspective. That's fundamentally different compared to where we were, you know. And so, yeah, that's like, okay, I get where Hara's coming from. But on the short term, people don't see it that way. They look at it like, that isn't there now. That's a little bit of hopium. That's a little skepticism. And again, for me personally, I look at the bigger picture. I'm not looking at it from, all right, well, this is not appeasing people that want to hear about lockup right now, or appeasing people saying, you know, we don't have all this utility yet. But I get the positive and negative. Me personally, I see where he's coming from. And that is, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, because you will have the utility, unlike a lot of other projects that promise utility and never get there.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jesse?
I think, you know, the utility is the linchpin, right? I mean, that's what we're all waiting for. I think where the problem kind of is right now is, I feel like JASMY is kind of like that odd duck swimming with the other group, that everybody's the same color, the same shape, swimming the same direction. And JASMY is different, right? It's like, you know, I've talked about that for a long time, that you can just sort of feel like the 1980s, 1990s device makers in them. And they just operate differently versus, you know, again, I think their main comparison right now is a star, right? And you look at a star, they have a blockchain website, they have a blockchain leader, they post about blockchain every day, multiple times a day, whether it's him or whether it's a star. They talk about TVL. They've got all of the things that, like, somebody, like, if I was an intern at Binance and I looked up a star, I would know what a star was pretty quickly, right? I would find their blockchain. I would find all these things. With JASMY, it's just not like that, right? And I think that's where you do get the skepticism, is a lot of people don't have the time to, you know, pour over research all the way back to 2016, right? I mean, I know just personally from being in Brian's Discord that, I mean, there is like, it's like a encyclopedia, like 28 volumes worth in there of all things Japan and JASMY and all these connections and all this stuff. But your average person, I mean, really, it's a little more challenging, right? And I think when you go to their website, it looks different also. It looks very different from all the other blockchain websites. And, you know, like, one of my fears personally is, between the time that Binance put them in the innovation zone till now, what's different? And if you just kind of look at like the fact part of it, not a whole lot, right? Because back then they were working on the chain. What are they doing now? They're working on the chain, right? Hara's saying the right things. And I think by all accounts, they should have the money to do it, right? Now, this is another thing I've talked to Dip Metaverse about, is they got 200 million in VC capital. They got 250 million in market cap. So they got plenty of money to make this thing work, right? And it seems like all of that is happening, but maybe what some of the delay is, and you know, this kind of ties back into Brian again. Brian was really good at finding the Japanese laws and regulations and kind of how JASMY's moves coincided with different moves with the Japanese government. And maybe that's what part of this is, because I think in one of those responses, he said something about that. about, you know, the wallet being ready, but Japanese regulation and them kind of having to double check, ho hum, whatever. Maybe that could be part of that delay. But I mean, me personally, I don't even need to see a finished product. You know, it's just more so kind of like just start dropping some Easter eggs here and there. Like, hey, here's a little screenshot of, you know, what the interface potentially looks like. Oh, okay, cool. You know, like you got to start dropping that stuff that, like I said, if it's an intern at Binance or whoever the hell it is that has to go through and review this innovation zone thing, we want them to have all the information they can possibly have to go, hey, JASMY doesn't need to be in the innovation zone, right? But I don't know if they've still provided that. I mean, like that's kind of the hang up is, again, you're not following the roadmap of all the other blockchain companies. They all have the exact same website template. You're not doing that. Like you're not doing any of this stuff. So then it's like, well, are they real or are they a rug pull, right? You know, I saw the comment in there saying that. No, I don't think it's a rug pull at all. I just think it's a completely different way of looking at the same thing is kind of how it feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a perfect way of looking at it. And you know, even myself from our community, like we'll see some people that will point out like JASMY was at 499 all-time highs. You know, look at the charts, blatant rug pull, you know, this and that. And it's like, well, look at the last bull market too. I mean, you don't have anywhere near, you know, the circulating supply that we have now. You literally have what, Jesse? I don't know if you remember back then, like, was it like 1.5 billion tokens during that time? Something like that. I mean, that's
way less.
That's a huge difference, night and day.
Yeah, I was actually looking at something a little bit earlier in regards to that. Just in regards to the full dilution, like the plan that Hara had laid out, and I tried to find it so I could kind of screen share, but I couldn't find it. But according to NM over on crypto, Pyman, I think he's one of your subscribers, Max, but he says JASMY Hara had announced in an interview that in 2021 that they wanted full dilution of the JASMY coin between 2021 and 2023, which they've achieved, right? Well, for the most part, they've achieved. What are we at, like 98.6 or something along those lines?
Very close to 99,
yeah. And so the next step, according to what Hara had said, and that kind of stumbles me right there a little bit, though, is that when people go back on the long-term chart and they're like, well, look at the all-time chart, right? But it kind of is obviously out of context, especially when allegedly Hara had announced ahead of time that their plan all along was between 2021 and 2023 to have full dilution, not delusion, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't want to fuel those fudders anyway.
Yeah. But it's like, is it not, in my opinion, is it not the fault of the person buying it at $4 for not paying attention to what the company is saying that they're going to be doing than it is the company for allegedly rugging people by releasing the tokens into circulation, right? And a quick preface it to that, guys, that I'd like a response to is, what would you prefer more? A company who just drops the supply into circulation, or deal with the FUD that Ripple faces because they hold the bulk supply of the tokens?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a tricky one, right? So there's a lot of coins out there that they haven't released a significant amount. And that's everyone's fear, is that, well, it's going to start dropping. You know, with JASMY, Hara has previously said that they released coins at a far accelerated pace than what they had intended. So that was not intended to release them at the rate that they did, but that happened. Okay. And some of that has to do with their former owner, who is no longer involved, right? That all figures in. The other thing, though, I was going to say was there are many projects out there that are down 80 to 90%, or whenever they bottomed, it was somewhere like that, right? And JASMY is not an outlier in that respect. It kind of falls in line with all the other altcoins that did that.
You want to follow up, Max?
I mean, yeah, I also look at it from the perspective that, you know, when Bitcoin, you know, BTC and Ethereum are doing really well, JASMY also does really well. I mean, if you follow like 24-hour chart, 7-day chart, I always say this on, you know, our broadcast, 7-day, 30-day, you name it. I mean, it kind of runs in correlation with it for the most part. You know, there's times that here and there it doesn't, but you know, what have we been seeing? I mean, shoot, the overall crypto market, you know, what was that up to, like 1.198? Maybe it touched 1.99 briefly. We've had a little bit of a pullback. But up until that time, I mean, shoot, what did we see JASMY up? Like 15% on the week. That's pretty much reflective of, you know, BTC and Ethereum. Those still control 81% of the overall, you know, market, whether we like that or not. So, you know, it's like combine that with close to 99% of the actual JASMY token in circulating supply. Well, there you go.
Yeah, we're up a hair under 28% on the month. Like that's not a case of JASMY not moving, right? Because you hear that, I hear that all the time as people, well, you know, the rest of the market's pumping and JASMY's not moving, and I'm just no, it's just not $1 where you want it to be. There's a difference, right?
Well, here's the thing. Also, I also think that back to the whole thing what Haro was talking about, right? It's like there's a bear market, bull market, whatever the case be. We have things in place, you know, especially like when we get, you know, and I get a lot of people don't like this, but it's like migrating to this whole new layer 2 with optimism. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, finally, this is going to be the actual, as I would say, utility in motion. We already have all these things with all these sorts of partners and so on. And back to the whole thing of the AMA, I would agree. 107 million users easily, and then some, right? And then some big time. And so me recently, I decided, I was like, well, you know, I want to respect your guys' time. I don't want to do like a super long deep dive because God knows I do too many of those, right? I get criticism about that and I don't care, right? I'm going to be me.
We got all day.
This is what really sparked my interest in regards to the AMA. So I'm not going to take control here because I do respect we're part of this council here, and you know the JASMY Yoda, Mr. Jesse's here. You know I feel like Wayne's World back in the day, like we're not worthy. Anyway, which is just a pleasure seeing Jesse. I mean, all this time, you know, keeping it real finance. You said keeping it real since 1982. I've been keeping it real since 1981, so I'm right there with you, brother. But what I was gonna say is the way I look at it is like this. All right, so Captain JASMY, shout out to him. A lot of other content creators are like, you know, sharing this, but is it okay if I just share my screen real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're a little bit new to the whole thing of StreamYard, but here it is. A lot of content creators are sharing this. And basically, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is the fundamentals, like the summary of if you missed the AMA, you didn't intend the whole thing with Telegram, whatever the case be. The key points. The 107 million users, I would agree, walk in the park, right? We already said that. Data is valued well between 500 to 1,000 per user annually. Now, there's a lot more to get into this, but for me, I was like, well, this is what I'm going to share with, you know, on our live show tomorrow. I get tomorrow's like President's Day and so on. Some people get it off, some people don't. But I decided, yep, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to get more into this because when I did get more into this whole thing of data valued well between 500 and 1,000, I said to myself, all right, what if I'm a person from the outside? Did they just pull this out of their butt? Like, I hate to be blunt like that, but did they? Not exactly. So when I looked more into this, just to kind of give you like a little tease about this, there is this, and I'm going to share this with you in just a second. So I'm on a new tab if you want to switch it to that one. Okay, I guess I'm able to do it. There it is. So look at this for a second. This is from McKinsey and Group. They did a report back in 2020 in regards to the whole thing with the pandemic. They also did another report in 2021, and then they have some more that's more up to date. And of course, This is where I'm like, this is going to take too long to get into it, but I'm just going to give you guys a taste of this. I was really like excited when I saw some of this, because in this full report, they talk about this Internet of Things and the value to, you know, accelerate through 2030. I mean, a lot of us are like, rah, 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 2025. But in reality, the way I look at it is like end of 2025, that's like early retirement for me. But like generational wealth, a lot of people think it's like, yeah, 2030, because that's like real true mass adoption. Look what it says for a second here. Talks about new research that showed, at least back in 2021, that the Internet of Things offers significant economic value potential. Again, go back to the whole thing of what we see from, you know, Captain Jasmy in the summary. 107 million users, data valued between 500 and 1,000. When I was doing a search on this, I said to myself, I want to find out what data is valued in regards to what, guys? Centralized data marketplaces, your Googles, your Amazons, your Facebooks, your Apples, your, you know, the whole thing with GAFA. And when I got more into this, you know, it gives the whole thing of like, what is the Internet of Things? We know about this stuff, but everything that was outlined, even from an American perspective, is everything that Jasmy is looking to do with the Internet of Things. And then also, you know, like providing this utility through the whole concept of a personal data locker, and blanketing like this whole thing of Asia. And when I got more into it, and I'm just giving you guys a little taste here. Look at this for a second. This is crazy. I'm gonna pull this up. Research overview. This is a little bit more from McKinsey, and you know, if you ever heard of McKinsey, they're top notch when it comes to research, analytics, all this stuff. The potential economic value that the IoT can unlock is large and growing. By 2030, they estimate that it could enable 5.5 trillion to 12.6 trillion value globally, including the value captured by consumers and customers of IoT products and services. And then I say to myself, okay, look, am I going to listen to some guy with a stupid puppy dog face on Twitter saying, judge me scam? Or am I going to look at actual data analytics from a company like McKinsey and say to myself, Jasmy only needs to cover or capture 1% of that. And that right there alone, even if I wasn't a person who was a deep dive researcher, I understand, like it says, the economic value potential. And I'm going to get into all of this and do a full breakdown. But I will give you guys this little teaser. And if you're cool with it, I would like to hear what Jessie has to say. But there's a 4-minute and 42-second video clip. And I'm telling you, when I watched this, I was like, oh my God, this is what Jasmy is looking to do. And this is an American outfit that realizes it. We have got to share this either on Rob's show, mine, whoever. So
Everybody's show.
there you go. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys know about McKinsey, and it's okay if you don't, but I mean, we could play this. I don't want to take control of the whole, you know, discussion. So,
okay. I don't know about Jessie, but I've got all day, man. I put my whole day aside for this, and this is what the people want to see. So, you know, I'm here as long as you guys want to keep talking. So take as much time. I don't know about Jessie. I don't know if you got things to do later today, but yeah.
No, I'm open.
Well, I got things later to do today, but I mean, I'm here for at least a good amount of time, not like 2 or 3 hours. But if you want to see this, I just thought, like, oh my gosh, what perfect timing to come from that AMA and the discussion about, yeah, we could do 107 million users easily. Then I saw this and I was like, oh yeah, I think we could double that, maybe triple that. So if you're cool with it, is it okay if I go ahead and play this?
Yeah, give her.
All right, hold on. So let me full screen this for a second. Check this out, guys. Let me know what you guys think in regards to the comments. It speaks for itself. Look at this.
I think business leaders can leverage the research in this report in 2 ways. One, hopefully it provides insight into where the market opportunities and where the direction of travel is around IoT for the subsectors and for the applications that are in focus for them. I think secondly, and perhaps even more importantly, is their ability to reflect on what the report tells us about adoption of individual use cases and in general across sectors, and where the organization in terms of capabilities, talent, technology needs to advance in order to be able to be successful.
When we looked at the value creation potential of IoT, we looked at it through a few different lenses. Through settings where IoT technology is ultimately deployed, but also in use cases or use case clusters of related activities. And when we looked at about 99 different combinations of settings and use cases, one of the things that we found most surprising was that the lion's share of the value was concentrated in 5% of those use case and setting clusters, primarily with regard to operations optimization, which was one of our major areas. It really speaks, I think, to where we're seeing real traction within the market and where we're seeing excitement from end users to deploy IoT technology and really start to deliver real value capture.
The thing I found most surprising was just how fast the home setting and consumer applications grew, largely as the result of these voice automated assistants or voice activated assistants in the home. Those have just grown tremendously. And then all of the IoT ecosystem within the home has continued to grow with it. That said, we still see lots of potential in B2B. But the surprising thing to me was just how much the adoption in the home setting had actually accelerated.
As we looked at the value creation potential looking forward towards 2030, we did see that these estimates were slightly lower than estimates from about 5 years ago. One of the reasons for this is that a lot of people are stuck in what we call pilot purgatory right now.
The biggest piece of that is how challenging it is actually to move things within large organizations, to have the enterprise change the way that it operates. Largely the technology is there in order to capture value. But actually, it's all of those organizational factors, whether it's adoption, having the front line change the way that it operates, having the right incentives in place. All of those things are challenging. Now, that being said, we do see individual companies really racing ahead, being able to capture value at enterprise scale. But in order to capture the global value, a lot of organizations need to move. And that's where we find it is really hard work to do that. But we do see some companies accelerating ahead, and they are winning in the marketplace. We do see the strong potential for IoT continuing to accelerate and create value going forward. I mean, the number one thing is that value really is there. If we look at some of these leading companies that are winning in the marketplace, they are using IoT coupled with other technologies like analytics and AI in order to really capture value, whether it's on the top line or the bottom line around operational improvements. And so one of the reasons we believe it will continue to happen is because competition will require it to happen. When one company races ahead, and we know that digital technologies actually expand the range of performance between the best and the rest, everyone else will need to compete.
Looking forward towards 2030, we see even more reason for optimism given the deployment of 5G networks. Recent estimates forecast that about 60% of the world's population will be covered by 5G networks by 2026. These promise greater improvements in network speed, network latency, and network reliability that open up a broader set of use cases, particularly those related to video.
And then finally, we really do see companies starting to address the challenges around scaling, really understanding that that's something that they need to do. And so for all those reasons, that large value that we analyze is possible out there, we really do think it will be captured over time. It won't be tomorrow, but it will be in the near to medium term.
So, they have more up-to-date reports on this, and like there's, a 2024 outlook, whatchamacallit. Yeah, it gets more into it. Like there is one from 2023, how data can help companies thrive. And everything they reference is like, oh my God, it talks about like AI, and it's just, I'm like, JASMY's trying to do that. JASMY's literally doing this. Wow. Anybody really looking at this? And it's like, it's all at our disposal. If people were willing to take more of the, I guess you could say, the deeper dive into it. So I thought I'd bring it to you guys. I thought it was a cool video. And they're a very well established company here in the United States that does these type of things. So,
oh, definitely. And to kind of touch on that a little bit, I've been saying for, I don't even know how long now, must be at least 2 years, that IoT is, and you and I discussed this before, Max, is that how early IoT actually is, and that moving into 2029, 2030's next market cycle, I think that IoT is really going to start to take more of the center stage in terms of a narrative. As we, like, you're already starting to see it before. Like 2 years ago, you heard about, when you talk about IoT, it was kind of like people in the background knew about JASMY and that was about it. But now you're starting to see all these other companies starting to be put into the IoT more prevalently, like VeChain, for example, and stuff like that. They're starting to see longer lists of cryptos that are into, same way you did with AI, right? You had just a couple, you had Singularity Net and stuff, and then all of a sudden you started seeing stuff that was just like AI adjacent, like the graph and things of that nature that weren't strictly AI projects. You're starting to see that with JASMY too, as we move closer, or sorry, IoT, as we move closer to IoT becoming more of a center stage, going into the next 4-year cycle, possibly even the next 2 4-year cycles, right? The next 8 years. That's how early I think that we are.
Yeah, I look at that we're extremely early. Like I'm also invested in other IoT types of crypto projects like IOTA, right? And one thing that really stood out for me with IOTA was it's like, yeah, Internet of Things, and then also tied into ISO 222. Heck, I'm gonna be all over that like a fat kid on cake. So the way I look at it is, when you say we're early, it's like, yeah, we really are. I mean, we're not at mass adoption, whether it's JASMY, IOTA, some of these other things and whatnot. And that's the whole thing. I mean, that's the whole big picture. If you really look at it from an investor point of view, I mean, why would you want to FOMO in to all this stuff when it's, like crazy price levels of previous bull markets and whatnot? No, you want to, it's like, duh, buy low, sell high. But in regards to IoT in itself, I mean, no, there's not a lot of other ones out there. I mean, Jesse, maybe you could help me out with this. Like, there's, other than IOTA, JASMY, there's IoTex. I'm sure you've seen that one. That one's been doing really well lately, right? Like, that was literally done, I think, like a 6x since last crypto winter of last year. So
Yeah, I think the IoT front, for anybody who's listening out there, I think what they kind of touched on in that video was the growth of the network by 2030, right? So the network is going to be substantially larger. And I think the holy grail of IoT is really everything connected, right? Like, even you hear about somebody like an Elon Musk talking about, well, in the future, everybody's going to be, like, you're going to have that, like a microchip or something like that, right? So you could always be connected. And you think about IoT basically sums up all the different data points in your life and all of the areas that are valuable. And data is the most valuable thing out there, right? It really is. And we're just at the beginning of harnessing that. Now, GAFA previously, and this was, I think, maybe a couple years ago, maybe 2022 or so. I think it's average data revenue per user, something like that is the actual name of this. It was around $40, 40, so $40. And JASMY has said all along they wanted to push that number to $500, right? So it really kind of taps into a term that they had coined a long time ago, which was platinum data, right? It's platinum data because basically we're accessing it in a new way. We're getting our inferences from it. And most importantly, it's secure, right? So, I mean, even today, you look at all the various hacks and things that happen every single day all over the place. Most data is not secure, at all, depending on whatever platform you're with. So I think if you have somebody that can secure the data in a real way that's not going to be hacked, that goes a long way. Now, the irony here was, when Hara's Twitter account got hacked, and you know, all of a sudden he was blasting out airdrops and this and that. But we spotted it within like a couple minutes, right? Everybody knew it was fake. But that has nothing to do with actual JASMY and the actual PDL. So I agree with you. I think, you know, we're at the beginning of this whole IoT thing. This is just the beginning. And, you know, I can remember years ago kind of looking at some of the crypto charts. You know, it's some pretty big coins, and you look at them when they're flat, right? And a lot of them are flat for like 2-3 years. They just kind of float along flat, and then all of a sudden it blows up, right? And I've always kind of felt that JASMY could be one of those. And so, you know, that's why, you know, I've always been, you know, I did the DCA for quite a long time with JASMY. And I kind of recommended following it like that. Now, again, I mean, we all didn't know the rate that it was diluting previously. Like nobody knew that. But now we're at the bottom. And so the point is, you know, what goes down must come up. And I think if they can prove the value of, especially the JASMY chain, but, you know, the idea and everything about it, IoT makes too much sense. And I think maybe the way you're looking at it, Max, is kind of like the long-term trend. And I agree with you. I like to look at the long-term trends. I don't really care about this year, next year. I like to think about it like the chess game, right? Like you always got to be like 2-3 moves ahead. And so what is 2 or 3 moves from now? What does that look like for JASMY, right?
I mean, 2 moves from right now is literally layer 2 with optimism, and then the whole thing, you know, what they're doing with Polkadot. I did a deep dive. I'm not saying that like I expect everybody to watch my videos, of course not, but you know, I'm personally heavily invested into Filecoin, right? Like crypto winter 2022, I literally made 3K in 3 days with Filecoin, and I was like, you know, at one point I labeled it the Coca-Cola crypto before the SEC went after it, and then I said to myself, I need to research this just a tad bit more. And when I got more into it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to heavily reinvest into Filecoin. And then I was looking at JASMY. I was like, you know, different use cases, but JASMY to branch out into this whole thing of like cloud storage, you know, Web3 cloud solution. Obviously, you know, if we're going to have PDLs, we need to have them safely stored, right? And so I'm looking at it from the perspective, if JASMY could just get a small piece of that pie, hence why I put that in the thumbnail of like what Filecoin was doing. And my God, I mean, Filecoin is killing. I mean, and I get it, you know, for people watching and like, Max, totally different, you know, use case and so on, not exactly the same. Right, it's not. But again, the whole point is when we're looking at some of these figures, you know, just whether it's from McKinsey or some of the things that Rob was talking about, or some of the things Jesse's talking about, the key thing is just 1% of some of these things. I mean, come on, 1% of, was it $5.5 trillion moving forward with IoT? You don't think that could be tremendous in regards to value? Some people say, well, that you're comparing centralized marketplaces with a potential a decentralized marketplace that's not even fully made yet. Correct. There is the whole thing of that risk to reward ratio, right? It's not there yet. But if I'm going to be the type of person in which I'm, personally invested into Ripple's XRP and some of these other ones, because I'm looking at it from the perspective of I could buy a lot for not much and it has huge upside potential, then I also will always look at JASMY. And that's why I've DCA'd into it multiple times. I hit one of my big goals. I'm not at my next couple of milestones, but I look at this thing as like, I'm extremely excited about it because they don't have one layer of utility. I mean, for the future, multiple layers of utility. IoT is a big deal. And, obviously we're putting a lot of focus on IoT, this discussion, but I mean, come on, man. I mean, finance democracy. And I always say on the live show, I still don't think, Jesse and Rob, that people take seriously the whole concept of like JASMY for cross-border payments. They're never a part of that conversation with your Ripples and your Stellars and so on. But it's like, okay, this is also Japan. This is also like, the Asian sectors of the world. And it's like, they have embraced blockchain, at least Japan is, and DLT, and when we talk about especially like DFFT, data free flow with trust, and how that's literally taken, like that's like a blueprint that's been passed over to like even Europe. You know, look at like what's her name, Margaret Vestager, the European Union. You know, Taro Kono basically going over there and is saying, here, check this out. You know, our country has embraced this. This is the future. And then to see those connections, whether it's your Genki Odas of the world and so on, and like Jasmy, Genki Oda, all this stuff. Yeah, I'd rather take a chance on this than some of these other things. Why wouldn't I? So,
well, I mean, to kind of, you're absolutely right there. Sorry to cut you off, but you're absolutely right. I agree that because I mean, what are we talking about here, right? When you're looking at investing, you're investing into potential. You're not investing into a sure thing. You never are, right? That's the whole point of investing. So you just kind of hit the nail right on the head. I agree with you. It's the potential, the risk to reward, and where Jasmy could potentially go is really what you're getting into Jasmy for. You're not getting into it because you're guaranteed that you're going to make a fortune tomorrow on it, right? So I agree with you 100%. Sorry to cut you off there. I just wanted to slide that in.
You're never cutting me off. And for everybody that's listening, if it doesn't look like I'm engaged with the camera all the time, a lot of times I like to look at the screen of where these guys are at, because it helps me pay more attention to, you know, what they're telling me, which obviously makes for better content for what we're talking about. So I just want to give a shout out to some of these guys that are here tonight. I mean, I really appreciate you guys being here on a, you know, Sunday evening on the 18th. Tomorrow, a lot of us got tomorrow off, but you got a pretty decent crowd here tonight, Rob. 75 live people. KK in the house. Thank you for being here. Terrell, I just recognize a lot of these names. Richie Rich. What was it? Who else is we see? I'm familiar with. Crypto Homes 777. Gerald. So some of the other guys I don't know you, like Dante and so on. But I'm glad to be here. You know, I always say to people in person, you know, mi casa es su casa. Well, this is your casa. You know, thank you for having us at your casa, me, you, Jesse, and so on. So,
yeah, actually, I think that we probably got a couple of questions that we can maybe answer. I like to bounce the questions off of you guys, and I chime in a little bit because honestly, a lot of them, they ask me these questions all the time, right? So it's good to have different voices in the room and different perspectives, right? Because you guys might disagree with me on something, right? Like it's so what do we have for questions here? I don't know if you guys obviously you guys can both. Jesse, can you see the chat as well?
I just
I got it.
I just go with the other tab on YouTube. So
okay,
yeah.
Dante asks, what's y'all's prediction? Not just the price, but the Jasmy company itself for the next 12 months. I think it's going to be a very bullish year. I don't know. I hate doing price predictions. Like Jesse had said the other day, and I can't help but parrot that. It's so hard to hit a moving target when it comes to Jasmy's price right now with everything going on this year, just this spring with Jasmy. Like it's so hard. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'll let Jesse go on first on that
one. For the end of the year, where do I think Jasmy could be? Right now, you know, it's floating around 006, 007. Going back in time, we never thought it'd go below 008, and it did, right? So typically when you're watching these, you got to get out of the sub penny category first, and that doesn't happen overnight. That's a taller order than most people think. So I think just getting into the pennies, right, would be a huge step up. And if we could get anywhere between a penny and 5 cents by the end of the year, I'd chalk that up as a huge win. Now, next year, obviously, I'd like to see it go higher than that. But that's kind of where I'd see it for now. In terms of the company itself, what would I like to see out of them? I would like to see more of the big dominoes on the blockchain side. This is the HARA stuff, right? I want to see the roadmap. I want to see the wallet. I want to see the chain. On the old guard side, if they were dropping another patent or two, I'd be all for that. I would love to see Ando, Sato, one of these guys. I would love to see them address the global community at some point. I think that's hugely lacking. You know, I find it very ironic that those two guys own the company, but Hara takes all the heat, right? And it's kind of like, you know, you two got to get out there at some point in time if you're going to be the ownership. And granted, I can see where they could say, well, you know, I'm stepping back at this point in time and I'm letting the younger guy handle it. I get that. But at the same time, we still need to see you once in a while. So I would like to see them come out, be a little more public facing. Sato, you know, he's done a couple of TV show type things in Japan that are out there. Ando, there isn't a whole lot from him recently. But I do know from Dip Metaverse's trip over there, apparently Ando's in that office once a week. So I do know he's still involved, and that's honestly higher than I kind of assumed. I figured he would probably be much more involved with the university as opposed to JASMY. But he is over there. So I would like to see a little more out of those guys. You know, they're the ones that make the real partnerships. You know, I've said this before that I think what's kind of lost me a little bit to date is the Hara side of things. What sells me is the old guard. And the old guard is kind of like lining up the National Carbon Credit Consortium, right? I'd love to see more on that. They're lining up the Secure PC. You know, they're in the photos with the head of Avita. I'd like to see more on that. What's interesting about them is their talk early on about kind of global expansion. I'd like to see them focus more on Japan. I want to see them win in Japan first, right? I mean, if you can't win at home, how are you going to win anywhere else, right? I would like to see them, if possible, get more ingrained with the Japanese government, whether it be through smart cities, whether it be through the replacement of the Suica card. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And there could be a lot of conversations that I think that old guard is having with the various groups and players behind the scenes and consortium that we do not know anything about. I want to see more of that from those guys. And obviously from Hara, I want the blockchain.
You want to chime in on that one, Rob, or you want me to, you know, give a response real quick? I think you're muted.
You go ahead, brother.
All right. So the way I look at it, I do agree with Jesse in that regard. You know, it's, but at the same time, like my thing is this: even if we never see, you know, Kunitake Ando ever, you know, again, it's still not. He doesn't represent the utility, right? You know, when I talk about utility in motion, he doesn't represent the utility. Is it great to see something, you know, somebody like him? You know, absolutely. It's like, you know, I talk about Quan all the time. It'd be like, to a sense, not seeing Gilbert Verdin. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this guy invented, you know, ISO TC 307, the quant network standard, for crying out loud, an ISO standard. So, yeah, I get that whole thing. I would agree with Jesse. I would like to see him more, but also realize that as far as, like, you know, people using the PDL, I mean, if we're going to hit 107 million users or double that, it's not going to matter if Ando shows up or not. But from a PR's perspective and the, you know, JASMY community perspective of just wanting to see of like a boost of morale. Oh yeah, you know, definitely would like to see him. Would like to see. I know you said Sato. I didn't know that's the right way to say it. Is it Sato? I thought it was Sato. Jesse.
I could be wrong. I also
Okay.
forgot the Ando San.
Right. Yeah.
San,
and
right.
You know, I get that too. Like, I mean, shoot, I had to teach some kids just like, you know, hey, that's my aunt, you know, and you know, like I'm taught, you call somebody like, hey, this is my Aunt Emma, or this is my uncle so-and-so. And then I see other cultures and it's just like, they just call them by their first name. And I'm like, so, I mean, I forget the whole thing. We should do the whole thing in respect. I get that. But I would agree with Jesse. I would like to see more of that. As far as if we do, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody legitimately has the answer for that. I mean, Jesse, I know you guys talk amongst, you got to talk amongst the other ambassadors that, and so on. You guys, have the conversations, but, have they mentioned anything about that too? Do they feel that way the same as you about seeing more like Sato-san?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
From the ambassador front, at one point in time, we were all in a group chat. I actually left that chat recently. As I had previously mentioned, I've got an Apple Watch, and this thing was just blowing up with all these group chats that I've been in all day long. And that was one of them that I was like, you know what? I need a break from this. I got to kind of step back a little bit, because I was kind of turning into the a-hole in the group, where it was like it's like, if we're all going to dance around this, I'm not going to dance around it. I mean, I'm going to put it out there the way the community's viewing this thing, where there's some opportunities. I have been frustrated with different parts of it, because they're so methodical and they're so plotting that I almost feel like it's like, you're planning forever, but this time window is shrinking, right? I mean, markets change, the world changes. Even something like Secure PC is kind of geared towards telework, right? And telework, if you were on Reddit, the workforce by and large likes telework. Everybody likes working at home. They have more time to do things. A few people like to go into the office every day, because if they don't, they feel like they're out of place, whatever. I get that. But the reality right now, at least here in the US, is that the commercial real estate market is kind of running into problems, right? People on the verge of potentially defaulting, yada, yada, yada. Cities losing tax dollars, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to force people back in the office. So who's to say that doesn't happen in Japan, right? So something like a Secure PC, now granted, I still think it's a great idea whether they're in the office or not, but that's kind of where they started, right? So the marketplace is changing a little bit from that original idea. And, this is one thing with crypto that, I think a lot of people get hung up on, is when you first find out about a project or look into it or whatever, you feel like it's always going to be what it was when you first found it. And that's not true. Things change all the time. The projects change. The way they do it changes. Ethereum went from proof of work to proof of stake. You name it. I mean, they can change anything. And like, one of the things that I sort of get the impression that I think they're changing is, originally, the lockup was projected to be companies locking up JASMY. But I do wonder if some of that lockup now is going to be just retail investors globally, people all around the world. It seems like they're pivoting more towards that. And honestly, the way I see it, I don't care where the lockup comes from, as long as we have something, right? So if it's retail, great. If it's businesses, great. If it's both, great. If it's no one, not great.
I think it's a combination of both, because I mean, even when we look at the white paper, it mentions that, you're going to have, some of this come into play with these businesses, that was mentioned originally. I'm glad that you brought up the whole thing of like, was it the telecommunications companies or whatever you said earlier? Because this came up 3 days ago. Do you guys have a chance to see this from the Medium by any chance? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, by the way. If you have it, you have it,
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you did see it, Jesse? Okay. So it's like, yeah, it's 3 days ago. And it's literally like what you're mentioning, Jesse. It's like, it says JASMY Secure PC, strong security solution. They began working with Kinro no Shishi. Probably not pronouncing that right. Bear with me. Cloud-based attendance management system. Of course, we can go through all this. I mean, there's a lot that's into it. I decided to get more into it, right? And this part about cloud attendance management, Kinro no Shishi, Lion of Labor, It says cloud-based time and attendance management system that can handle simple attendance management as well as complex work systems used by a wide range of customers, regardless of industry, size, et cetera, et cetera. But it goes on to mention about this whole thing of management for hotels, hospitals, facilities, operates 24 hours, 360 days, most complex types of work systems. Then it gets back into like some things that I thought was like appealing, because I'm talking about this a lot. You guys, I mentioned it. Shout out to like people from our community, like NeoX Tricks, Mental Logwar. This IC cars, because remember, the whole thing with Mofiria, right? So I'm saying to myself, okay, well, we have guys like, Tadashi Morita and the patents that he's done. And so when we talk about utility in motion and we talk about some of these key partnerships, some people have questioned the whole thing with JASMY, and that's, well, you guys have these partnerships and this sounds great, but are they actually going to be using this? The answer is yes. And here's a perfect example. I'm going to kick it over to this next part. Here's the actual company. This is, interpreted from English to Japanese, or Japanese to English, I should say. And this pounds home what Jesse's talking about. Literally what you were mentioning. And, line of labor, freedom to work anywhere, on the go, you name it. I mean, reasons why attendance management system, Kinro, no Shishi, what a name, is chosen. Gives all these fundamental reasons. But again, understanding, like we were saying, Jesse, telework, enhanced functions to realize work style reform. When we talk about, society 5.0, it's like we're not even close to 5.0 yet. But like we have these examples of where it's going to go from like society 4.5 to your 5.0s and so on. So I do kind of want to pick your brain on this. I mean, not to the point where it's like, I expect you to, analyze this with a magnifying glass by now, Jesse, or anything like that. Of course not. But I did want to see if you knew about it, and just on the surface, what you think, because I thought this was a big deal. This didn't get really mentioned much because obviously everybody's focusing on the AMA. But yeah, brother, we want to know what you think.
Yeah, I think some of this is kind of a product of maybe like the work environment, the employment environment in Japan, right? Going back in time prior to COVID, I think the leadership view, at least across corporate America, was if you send people home, are they actually going to do anything, right? There's no way we'll do that. And it didn't happen. Then COVID happened. Everybody was forced to go remote. And a lot of employees are more productive at home, right? And I mean, I can think of being in offices where I have people coming over to my cubicle, whatever, chatting with me, for all day long. You never accomplish anything, whatever. They're in your office all day long. You don't get anything done. I think in the sense of this with the attendance management, it's one of those things. It's like a big brother, basically. It's verifying that you're there when you say you're going to be there. It taps into the term of workforce management. That's what this falls under. Here in the U.S., it's a workforce management function, and it's a way of efficiently tracking that your workforce is there working when they say they are. They're actually being productive when they say they are. There's all kinds of metrics like that the big companies don't have. I mean, they really don't. And so, like I could see something like a time card, for example. Like, you could go and you could time card into your job, and then you could time card out for lunch, time back in, and then time out at the end of the day. But what did you do in between there, right? Like, did you actually produce anything? What are those metrics that you have? And I think, you got to kind of zoom out and you got to look. The further up you go up the company, the more you're just simply looking at numbers and you're looking at, things like production. And so something like this is basically tapping into that overall production. And when you think about a private business, every bit of production matters. So that's where I kind of think this hits that point. And like I said, whether they're truly telework or not, may not ultimately matter. But I think that's kind of where the idea started, right?
Yeah, and I think it's going to blossom more into it. Like I scroll down to this part that you guys see scrolling across your screen, and the way I look at it is, back to the whole thing of telework. So, and back to what Jessie was saying in regards to, creating a workflow that's going to be more efficient. At the end of the day, I mean, this is Japan we're talking about. So, they're all about this honor system and trying to do the honorable thing of having more efficient workflow and getting things done more, I guess you could say, at a more precision pace. And you see all these companies listed here across the screen, and I'm just coming to the conclusion, like, even on the surface, all this company needs, which is I forgot how to pronounce this, Kinru, from the site kinru44.jp. All they need to say is, what? Yeah, we are actually using JASMY's technology, this personal data locker, some of these other things, and it's helping us. We're more efficient now. Here's some examples. Again, back to what Jessie was saying, like, what's this person doing in that in between time of the breaks and so on, or lunch, or whatever the case be. And then they can see that how this is benefiting, apparently, like, Kinru. All right. Like, here's Caterpillar, right, of Japan. I mean, my dad did work for them many years ago, like decades ago. Some of these other ones, right? Park Hyatt Tokyo. But whatever the case be, all you need is an example of a few of these hopping on board and saying, you know what, you're a trusted partner, Kinru, and we also want to get this going. Well, then again, as the saying goes, word of mouth spreads like wildfire. And that's just Japan. What about other areas of Asia? So I'm with Jessie in the whole thing of, like, let's see your home country do well, and then if anything, like, go around Asia. And I guess the eventual goal, like even what they're trying to do here in the United States, we saw the whole thing of what was speculation in regards to the office in Silicon Valley, and then found out that's an actual real thing. So I'm going to get more into this myself later on, but I thought I would share it with you guys. I thought it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree. What I'd like to see from the company, I guess, in this year is I'd like to see them, again, with the linchpin being the PDL and the the JASMY chain. I'd like to see them hit that on schedule. That being said, I would also like to see, once it is launched, I would like to see them targeting, the retail side of things with marketing. And I would also, this is kind of from the investors' standpoint, I would like to see a little more understanding because a lot of the bigger institutional marketing and stuff like that is not going to be like a commercial on X or TV or whatever. It's going to be more board meetings and behind the scenes stuff. And I would like to see more people kind of understand and relate to that, because that's what it's going to be, right? It's not going to be a PowerPoint every time they have a meeting with someone that they're going to come out on X and, oh, so we're talking with this company and that company about using in the medical field in this country about using our PDL and sort of, that kind of stuff. But right. I would like to see that stuff happening. And I would like to see them, while not giving us details, can't expect details on it, but I would like to see them keeping us a little more in the know about, like, look, we are having these meetings, we are in discussions with companies about, utilizing the PDL for this, that, and the other thing. These kind of updates to just be more public about it. And I'm confident that the marketing will come towards retail once the PDL is used, because it just doesn't make sense for a company to not advertise their product once they can actually sell it, right? And like you were saying, to get 107 million wallets, or PDL, so to speak, you're never going to get there if you're not telling people about it, right? So you can have the best product in the world, but if no one knows it, it's up and running, right? You're not.
I've used that example too. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Rob. It's like I always use this reference, like, was it Ferris Bueller's Day Off? You know, Cameron, you know, his dad has that amazing Ferrari parked in the garage, right? And it's just like, oh my God, you know, Ferrari, California, was it 1969 or whatever, right? And it's just sitting there. And, you know, and Ferris Bueller's just like, oh my God, Cameron, we should, you know, we should take this out. And Cameron's like, well, no, we can't. You know, I just go around it with a diaper, you know, clean it with a diaper cloth. And it's just like, really? It just sits here? And then he's like, yeah, really, it just sits here. I kind of look at it from the perspective of, again, yes, you could have the greatest utility in the world, but nobody knows about it. It just sits in somebody's garage, does nothing. Then that's not utility in motion. That's just an amazing technology that unfortunately never gets used, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of segue back to a comment that Jesse had made about how things are, you know, constant hacks and information being hacked and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys got a chance to read what I had on the screen earlier when he was talking about that. Is it too small for you guys to read there? I know it's small on my screen.
No, it's big enough. I just blow up the screen. It's no big deal.
Yeah, so basically, like, Bank of America has acknowledged that the personal information of 57,028 of its customers has been compromised. This breach attributed to the failure at Infoye's, so basically IMF's or IMS, right? A provider of insurance business process solutions engaged by the bank, poses a substantial risk of identity theft to the affected individuals. What do you guys think? You think that this is a niche that the JASMY tech could kind of harness and focus in on, or?
Absolutely, 100%. I believe that. I mean, but I also get from our, you know, retail people like us look at like, well, then why don't they just go out and do that type of advertisement? You don't know if they do, or you know, if they do or they don't. You know, they don't share a lot of stuff, and you know, with the public. And I get it. That's some of the criticism. But yeah, absolutely, for them to go out and say, hey, you know, we provide a solution to this type of problem. As far as them actually doing that, I have no clue. I don't have any clue if they do that. I mean, I also respect Jesse. You probably know about some things being an ambassador that we don't know that you can't mention. I don't know. But my thing is, I think, you know, at the end of the day, people are aware that they do have a solution. It's just that it's not built yet. It's not fully there yet.
Yeah, I think things like this are a good example of it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to get hacked, right? Or you're going to lose data for millions, thousands, whatever, however many people. So in this example, it's Bank of America. I want to say in one of the other times, I think that Rob and I, maybe one of the times we chatted, we talked about the U.S. government, that there was some kid that dumped a bunch of stuff on like Discord, you know, out of one of the, I think he was in the National Guard or something like that. There always seems to be some way that somebody is exposing information or improperly accessing it. And this is one of those things that, I mean, if I was running JASMY, this is something I would do. Every time there's a hack like that, I'd probably retweet it. I'd say, hey, look at this. Bank of America, 57,000 lost their info. JASMY's never been hacked, period. Hashtag JASMY. Right? I mean, come on, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're tapping into is like all these different hacks. It's like, hey, we can secure your data. We can do that right here. We've got multiple patents. We've got the licensing. And you know, they're so methodical that they don't talk like that at all. Not one bit, you know, and they're still back there in the back room tweaking this thing, you know. It's like I feel like they keep repolishing the same spot, you know, and hopefully it comes live soon.
Yeah, I got a real quick plug here, guys, to every.
What happened? Did we just leg out? Did I just
I don't
leg
know.
out?
Rob, you there? I think we
Looks
lost.
like, I think Rob got frozen or something because I just heard a robot. We'll give him a minute. I'm still with you. How about Jesse? How about you?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Huh. Well, we'll give him a minute. Maybe he has some of the, connection disease I had last week or last few days. It was horrible, man. Like my whole internet was out. They were working on it.
Sorry,
I had packet loss.
am I
I was
back?
I was just telling Jesse you got some of the, Maximus disease of last week, with the connection problem.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Like I was saying though, I don't know how much you guys caught of what I was saying, but in the chat, make sure you guys go down to the description, because I got Max's and Jesse's links to their channels down there. Make sure you guys are going over and subscribing to the channels, guys. We're trying to create like a bigger JASMY community here. There's a lot of good perspectives and information from both of these guys that you guys don't want to miss. I definitely am always in Max's live streams. I'm always in the chat there because he's dropping alpha all the time. And Jesse, if you ever get back to live streaming again. So make sure you guys are checking that out, okay?
Thank you, Rob. I definitely do appreciate it. I was trying to help out one of your moderators. I do appreciate him dropping the link. I had to let people know it's 2690 because otherwise it comes up with a 404 broken link error. But no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Let's try to get through some more of these questions. I feel bad. We get into it. We get the chemistry going, and then okay. So let's we'll go with Robert says people are tired of identity theft. Yeah, that's not really a question. Are you concerned about the lockup, and do you believe they have the NDAs with other companies that they haven't mentioned? What do you guys think?
On that one, you got to go first, Jesse. You know the policy on that. Come on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. They have NDAs. Absolutely. So, I think the lockup was one of those things that was an idea, and not all ideas. In terms of the business lockup, that's what I'm getting at. Sorry, the business lockup. I think it's an idea that might be a harder sell than they originally thought. But I do think businesses could come around to it as time goes on, kind of following the train of thought, like Max was saying earlier about IoT in 2030. So that could start out. But yeah, regarding companies, regarding partnerships, from the ambassador side, we've talked about this a few times. And we've also talked with Icy on, he's pretty active on Reddit as well as Twitter. And
Icy's the man.
Yeah, he's absolutely awesome. And
great. Yeah,
he is a merchant marine engineer. Like he works on engines that are like 4 stories tall. So the guy's like a genius, right? And he's got a list of all of JASMY's partners, and in every single one of them, it's like I don't even know if they list that anywhere. And I think some of that is the NDA stuff, truthfully. So yes, that's definitely a thing.
I mean, with a list like that, think about what Jesse just said, and shout out to our brother Icy, wherever he's at tonight. I mean, that list, that's such an impressive list that at some point you would think, maybe even a hope, if you're like a retail investor, which most of us are, right, that one would slip out of that list from sheer accident. I was like, oh no, you're not supposed to share that one. That was part of the NDA. Well, we have this huge grocery list. You know what I mean? Like things like that do happen. At the end of the day, it's not going to affect the price that much,
Well, they're also repped by the attorney that reps them, like specializes in fintech, I think. And I get the impression that that's always at the front of their mind. And I think this goes back to Ando and the Sony days, that they're very mindful of what they put out there. So I think that plays a big part into this as well, trying to stay always compliant with Japanese law. And that was something I was actually going to say earlier. I've said this a couple times before, is that, JASMY started in 2016, and the Japanese laws really haven't been favorable until just recently. And so it's kind of like, what do they know that I don't know? Right? Like what else is going on over there that they haven't told us? And that's the part that really kind of you can really go down a rabbit hole with them, because I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I think they're very methodical, and I think they're following the guidance of their Japanese law firm, and that's why they only say certain things.
Well, I'd like to segue in that a little bit into the follow-up question from the same individual, Ack, and what you just
Sure.
said kind of segues into it. And he says, do you believe they're behind do you believe they are behind their original plan? And from what I picked up from what I was reading yesterday with the AMA was that they were saying that the wallet itself is already functional and stuff like that. Like they're testing it, I suppose, and things of that nature. But Hara had alluded to the fact that they're still working on regulations, making sure that they're within regulations, and there's also some I think they said patents or something along those lines that they needed, licensing and stuff like that they needed before they could actually get the PDL and Jasmy chain up and running. So it's more like more red tape at this point, as opposed to making sure that the wallet's functional. So I would imagine that there's a whole lot of talking behind the scenes when it comes to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was cutting off Jesse. Sorry if I was. Jesse?
All good. Go for it, brother.
I heard a click. I don't know if it was you or Rob. Yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, like, and this is no disrespect to anybody. I mean, like, I look at, like, this is Jasmy, and a lot of people look at Jasmy in a way, and maybe, you know, Rob, Jesse, you can agree with this, but, like, Jasmy, a lot of people still to this day kind of look at, like, you have a meme coin-esque type of community, but it's not a meme coin. Thank God. You know, it's going to have this tremendous utility, multiple layers of utility. And where I'm going with this actually is, you know, in regards to my own experience years ago, Saitama. Okay. And I know there's some people that are into Jasmy from Saitama, and, you know, I still hold Saitama, unfortunately. Okay. I'm a big loss. But my point is this. All right. Saitama would promise the moon in regards to, like, wallets and things like that. And it was clearly not ready. All right. This is not Saitama. This is Jasmy, for crying out loud. So, like I've always mentioned before, I'd rather, you know, whether it's Hara, Ando, whoever is the guy that says, yes, press the button to release this. I'd rather have them get it right than have them get it wrong just to appease towards, I guess you could say, the narrative of what the fudders are trying to, you know, fit into what they keep preaching and have something to combat that. Forget that. You know, even right now, I'm sitting at like $2,500 up on my Jasmy. Well, is it because I bought the bottom? Well, of course. Yeah, I mean, anything you could apply that. But my thing is this: getting it right instead of getting it wrong and staying in compliance. If they're going to be labeled the Bitcoin is Japan because they were the first to become regulatory compliant, let's not ever forget that, right? And let's always, you know, protect that sense of integrity. You know, at the end of the day, like I used to teach my students in school, you know, a lot of them don't know what integrity means. I said, integrity has the whole thing, you know, followed up with honesty and integrity. But what is integrity? Being true to yourself and being true to others at all times. You know, it's amazing how not a lot of people even know what that means, or the concept of liberty, right? It's just, that's my thing. Get it right instead of getting it wrong, because at the end of the day, when these companies come to use the utility, right, you have to have it right. If we're going to talk about scaling up, which is obviously the next thing for Jasmy, they got to get that right too. And it looks like they're trying to do things the right way, whether we on the sidelines don't see much price action or not. That's a reality. You know, look at it from the long-term perspective. Anyway,
Charles Hoskinson style, right? That's
yeah.
the thing. That's the thing about it, is that you know, if they do have to kick the can down the road because they feel it's not quite there yet to be 100% good to go, there will be negativity, right? However, there was the same level of negativity every single time Cardano kicked the can down the road on whatever Hydra or whatever it was that they were working on, right? But there was negativity at the time, but Cardano as a result has stood the test of time, right? And they're considered a blue chip crypto now.
Oh yeah, I'm heavily invested in that one too. I mean, I paid too much for it, but you know, I live on learn. I still hold it, and I do know your reference in regards to Hoskinson and quality over quantity and taking his sweet time. And this is where people say that, you know, Cardano is boring, but it is a quality project.
I know what you're going to say, Jesse.
Yeah, that's giving me a little chuckle there because, you know, I can remember leading up to that last bull run with him, and you know, everybody was getting into Cardano. You know, I remember like even Gene Simmons of Kiss bought some Cardano. You know, like everybody's buying Cardano, and that was always the knock against him. Was it was kind of like, all right, we got enough collegiate papers. Give me something real, right? Give me something real. And, you know, that's a good example, I think, of how sometimes with JASMY, you know, it does get taken out of context sometimes that they're not an outlier in the way that they operate in that respect. I mean, there's a lot of big time projects that are still in development, you know, I mean, they're always working on something. They're always adapting. So, yeah, that's funny with Cardano.
I overpaid for Cardano, man. I literally put in, I think, close to $4,000 into Cardano, but I didn't buy like at the all-time high, but it was my buddy at the time when I was still kind of new to altcoins, you know, and he was just like, you got to get some Cardano. I'm telling you flat out. I'm like, and this is a guy who did extremely well with other ones, and at the time I was like, all right, I'll pull the trigger on this, and it's you live and you learn. So I still hold it, but I overpaid per coin something fierce anyway.
Well, what was the narrative in the last bull run for Cardano? I remember it, and I try to warn my followers about this going into this next bull run is, well, Cardano's going to $10. Everyone and their mom was saying it. BitBoy was all over his channel talking about $10, you know, Cardano, don't sell your Cardano. I agree, don't sell your Cardano, but for me, that's when it's time to start selling, right? When you've got every major influencer out there saying don't sell, super cycle this, Cardano's going to $10, that Bitcoin's going to $500,000, you know, super cycle 2026, whatever. That's when it's time to get out. But yeah, I'm with you. I got in. I'm more DCA'd. I've never been an aper when it comes to projects. I'm so strict when it comes to just DCA. I'm going to buy 10% of my total holdings I want to put into this. I'm going 10% right now, because if it goes further down, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I get that, and it's part of the journey too. I mean, like, there's not going to be one set formula. We may think there is going to be that's going to work for everybody, but in reality, it's like until you live it and you've done it, whether it's short-term trades, long-term holds, until you experience this crypto journey, as the saying goes, you go about things differently. Like me personally, I mean, I've learned a lot since, you know, obviously crypto winter and so on. There's a lot that I bought the bottom of. That one you got on the crypto bubbles, GRT, I have no complaints on my GRT. I mean, I bought like 6.5 cents. I am more than happy right now. You know, audio is another one. LCX, you know, it's in the red. I mean, there's countless examples, but yeah, unfortunately, I do have to use ADA as an example of overpaying. Zilliqa, I used to cover Zilliqa a lot when this channel was on this channel before I went with the other Yahoo. No offense. Anyway, Zilliqa, overpaid on that one. Why? Because it was a buy the rumor, sell the news. The biggest pump of 2022 for Zilliqa was this event in regards to Metopolis. I'm not going to try to get off the subject, but man, I mean, Zilliqa went from like, I think it was like 8 or 9 cents all the way up to like 24 cents. And it's never been at that level since. It's been hovering at like 1.5, 2 cents, because Zilliqa do very, very well. The height of the bull run, absolutely. But looking at it from the perspective of, you know, like you said, Rob aping in, that was a great example of like, you live and you learn. So
yeah, I rode that roller coaster, Zilliqa roller coaster. I'm still bullish on Zilliqa for the bull run, this one, but
yeah,
I always say, if you haven't been wrecked in crypto at least once, are you even in crypto, bro? You know,
We can apply this to everything. I mean, like, you know, Michael Jordan talking about failure. I mean, if you haven't had any failure at some point, then in reality, you're not really learning from your mistakes. I don't know what you're doing, period. You know what I mean? Like, I turned 10K to 120K in 2021. But at the same time, right after that, I got into some really bad meme tokens like freaking Clifford Inu. Give me a break. $1,400 flushed down the toilet, you know, and some other ones, you know, that were blatant rug pulls. But you live and you learn. And that's where it's at. Like, I will not come on camera and be like, oh, yeah, I did everything perfect, because I didn't.
Luna caught me. Luna got me pretty good.
Terra Luna, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I kind of learned was I felt like I was always the guy that I was like, all right, yeah, let's try this and let's try their wallet, right? And I'd buy my tokens on the exchange, I'd send them over there, I'd convert them, I'd do whatever I'm doing, I'd lock this, lock that. And after a while, I started to realize I'm like, I feel like I'm too spread out. Like I've got my money away from the off ramps. You know, it's kind of like it's locked somewhere else. It's like, here's the off ramp and I'm way down the street somewhere else. You know, I'm like, man, like I think I took it too far because I followed this thing too far. And, you know, like one of the things I didn't realize was, you know, each transaction's gas fee, right? And depending on what the token was, it's like, all right, so you're taking a piece of this for me to, you know, send my tokens here. Then I got to convert them to that. Then if I want to bring it back, I got to follow the opposite process, bring it all the way back here. Then I have a taxable event. And I was like, you know, holy shit. I'm like, am I actually making anything here? Because I'm going so far down the line with you. Like what is going on? Right. And so I think the lesson learned there was now I try to be a lot closer to an off ramp if I'm going to off ramp. Right.
I got a. Oh, go ahead, Max.
No, I was just saying, I mean, we talk about all these off ramps. I mean, I talk about Stellar a lot, and it's just like they're like the king of, you know, on and off ramps, if you will, you know. And it's, I mean, you can move. I did a deep dive about this. You can move like 10 million was it USDC through Stellar for, in regards to stablecoin, for like 0.50 and a 1, and nothing else even comes close to that, you know. But if we were talking about Ethereum, obviously that's, I think, what you're alluding to, Jesse, you would have been absolutely bent over. I hate to use that expression, I'm not trying to be vulgar, but you know, it's, I mean, and everybody's experienced this. I mean, I experienced it, especially with meme tokens. I mean, I remember at one point at the height of the bull run, I was like, oh, I got to have this token because it, you know, it's doing really well. And $350 worth of gas fees that were actually more in gas fees than my bag. I mean, it was just, and it's a common complaint.
Yeah, I hold some coins on MetaMask that are ERC20 tokens from the last bull run. Just a few $100s, you know, here and there kind of thing. And I still hold them simply because when the bull run is on, I mean, the gas fees were more than the dollar value of the tokens I was holding. So it's like, so we'll take your coins and you owe us $300. So thank you for this transaction, right?
Yeah, this is why I'm like really, you know, I guess you could say thankful and enthusiastic of, I was just reading a comment, somebody said enthusiastic, so I guess I'm saying enthusiastic a lot too. But anyway, I am enthusiastic about the whole concept of, you know, this layer 2 scaling solution. So I mean, it's just like some people, and you know, like there's other content creators and not bashing on them. I mean, it's just difference of opinion. Like if we can't have difference of opinion on anything, we're gonna have some problems. But you know, they mentioned like, well, look at Gala, where you want to call it, went to, you know, V2. Don't like tokens that go to V2s. Well, also look at JASMY. I mean, you know, they are sticking to the white paper. So it's like, this has already been expected a long time ago. It does let me know, and this is not picking on anybody, how many people actually read white papers. And I'm not saying that like, yeah, I'm cool, I read a white paper, I got to be real about it too. Most people don't. You know, most people don't even read a light paper, let alone a white paper. But if we're going to nitpick things about the negative sides of, you know, JASMY and so on, and at the same time, let's give credit where credit's due. they are following that plan. And I am with Jesse. Like, let's see what happens with the 2024 roadmap. That's going to be interesting, and see how well they follow that. And if anything, and reanalyze. I don't know if Jesse's going to do it or me or whoever. Maybe you do it, Rob. Maybe you both do it together. I don't know. But analyze the 2023 roadmap compared to where we're at now and see how much we accomplish versus where we're at and going to be later in 2024. So
Anthony asks, can we hit $1 before the end of 2025? Anthony, we can, but can and will are two very different topics, right? What do you guys think? $1 by the end of 2025?
I'd like to say no way in hell. If it did it, awesome, but I doubt it.
I think I'm going to agree to disagree with Jesse on this one. And I have nothing but love and admiration, respect for Jesse. I think we can conservatively hit $1, but here's the things that would be holding it up. If we had too much of a delay of this layer 2 with optimism, then I'm going to say no. But if things are on time and, by, for instance, let's say by the end of 2024, we're already on this, and you see some examples of, as I would say, utility in motion. You see other examples of like that one we just talked about. What was it? You got to keep in mind, it's hard to remember all these Japanese names. Kinru, right? From the example of the medium. That is a great example, in my opinion. Just in case some people are tuning in, I'll just go ahead and represent this. So this was posted from, Jasmy's Medium 3 days ago. It links you get to this, outfit. And basically, it's like, what if we get other ones like this? And then they say, yeah, we're using Jasmy utility. I'm not talking about like where we're at right now. I'm talking about like, the layer 2 with optimism is already going. The whole thing with, Polkadot, right? For the Web3 cloud storage solution, where it's actually using the utility. And we do have cases of the numbers of, you can see maybe not 107 million users by then, right? 107 million users by then, but cases of, wow, we put a big, huge dent into this whole thing of users. And then and great examples of mass adoption. And you see the overall crypto market, for crying out loud, at some insane price levels. That's something I think we should probably discuss a little bit more. If Jasmy runs in correlation with BTC and Ethereum and the overall crypto market, you're at new all-time highs, possibly. I'm not going to say it's going to happen at the end of 2024, but anything significant. I mean, how about this, guys? We're already at, where are we at? Like 52K, hovering around there in regards to BTC. So right now, 1.66% increase. I'm just share this tab instead real quick. Bitcoin, BTC at 52K, Ethereum doing things as well. I mean, when you see that, typically speaking, I'll just go to my watch list real quick. You should see Jasmy also reflective of that. You should see, yeah. I mean, Jasmy's up 4.78%. I mean, it's nothing parabolic or anything. 13.5% on the week. That's not too shabby. And keeping in mind what I just mentioned. Yeah, go ahead.
Almost 30 on the month.
Right. So, my thing is, okay, what happened? We're not even at the halving yet. We're not even at the halving yet. So then the halving happens. Then what? And then how about this? And I'm glad I remember this, because I kept saying to myself, I want to hear, obviously from you, Rob, but in particular, like Jesse, I will put you on the spot on this, because I've been wanting to mention this to you forever, like freaking Squints from, Sandlot, forever, right? So this is one of those moments. I have been pounding it home since like last year about this whole thing of Japanese yen denominated stablecoins. As we know, pairings are the enablers when it comes to these tokens. I mean, we could talk about USDT Tether all day, Circle all day. We had Circle unbanned in Japan. And so I'm looking at like all these things, whether it's the Bitcoin halving, whether it's Japanese yen denominated stablecoins, some of these other things, the layer 2, the Web3 cloud solutions, these are all incredibly positive catalysts. So when you see somebody in the comments, they're like, by the end of 2025, $1, I'm thinking, well, if we get all our ducks in a row and have this really there, then I do think that could be conservative just based off of the things we just mentioned. And if we don't agree on this, Jesse, that's cool. But I did want to pick your brain in regards to the Japanese yen denominated stable coins, because we are now in 2024. I want to hear from you.
Yeah. Everything you said is bullish, right? Very bullish. And the yen stable coins, I think the way the laws are written in Japan is that if you're approved, you can issue your own stable coin. And so what it means over there is basically like each bank, if they wanted, could issue their own bank stable coin, right? And I think what you're tapping into for JASMY, if you wanted to see it take off on something like that, it would have to have those pairs. So it would have to be a JASMY / whatever bank or / JPYC coin and run, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it could do that. Let me back up a little bit. So with the Cardano comparisons, right? So when Cardano ran, it peaked at about $3.67, 68 cents, something like that.
Yeah, give or take.
And it had about 80% of the supply locked, right? So in JASMY, there is no technical lock at the moment, but could there be, right? Could there be a lock that's taking those coins out of the circulating supply? Yes. Now, the thing with like the coins running is usually they kind of go within like certain increments, right? So like right now, we're sub penny. So we have to hit a penny first. After we hit a penny, then it's kind of like a penny to a penny and 10 cents. 1 and 10, somewhere in there is sort of that next leg. Once you pass 10, then it's kind of like 1 or 10 to 25. And then once you pass 25, it's like 25 to $1 and so on. And so each one of those things is kind of like a spurt, right? And I think along the way, if you can, like you said, if all these bullish things continue to happen, which honestly, it kind of looks like this could be the year that things start moving like that, right? We would need those various spurts to push us along to that next leg up, recover a little bit, then go for the next leg, recover a little bit, go for the next leg. So that's why I originally why I said no way in hell, because I mean, if you think of the various levels of spurts that has to take to get you there, that's quite a few. Now, I think what's different though this year, and this was something I was talking about just the other day with Rob, is those Bitcoin ETFs, right? And in the first like 34, 35 days, they locked up $14 billion into those that wasn't there previously. And we know Bitcoin's pulling everything else. And so that's only in a little over 30 days. So where does that end at the end of the year from now? And does that naturally pull everything up with it also? It absolutely could. And so maybe you're right. I mean, maybe I'm dead wrong and maybe you're conservative. No one really knows, right? Because we've never seen, I think, the amount of disruption that the Bitcoin ETF does also. So if you tie that in along with, if they can get the chain out there, we can officially start doing lockups. We can officially start a TVL that grows along with the Bitcoin ETFs. Then it really could take off.
Well, knowing that, listen to this, and I love the points you just made here, Jesse. And I'm also looking at it from the perspective of like what a lot of people are still not talking about, and is actually a thing, and that is Ethereum ETF, right? Well, eventually, we're going to be talking about that as well. I'm not too excited about it because I think Ethereum is garbage, no offense, but I do recognize that an Ethereum ETF, if we're going to talk about, JASMY running correlation with BTC and Ethereum, because those represent 81% of the overall crypto market. And back to what Jesse was saying about like by the end of the year, some things could be big. Then at the same time, okay, Ethereum ETF, that will be interesting because that's a lot of money coming through. And Technically, JASMY is, on a Ethereum ERC20 smart contract. We're going to go to this roll up, which is this layer 2, but it's still technically a layer 2 in regards to Ethereum, right? So these are all positive catalysts, and just looking at it from a numbers point of view, even back to the original thing that we're talking about in regards to this discussion of this show. And by the way, this is a cool show. Thank you for having us, Rob. And that is, it's supply and demand. Okay, so we talk about supply and demand, like even the stocks. Any stock that really goes parabolic is because there's a tremendous amount of supply and demand. When we talked about some of these examples, where it's, this new one from 3 days ago with, Kinru, right? That's just one example. What happens when we get other big, huge examples? That's, again, utility in motion. And again, this is just a new one from Kinru. We already have examples from Transcosmos. What happens after the layer 2 is here? And that's what everybody, in my opinion, I think is betting on. There's going to be ones that are like, what's going to happen is a nothing burger. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. But I'm betting on it's not a nothing burger, and they're trying to scale. That's why they went with this solution.
I think it's very similar. What you're saying is very similar to kind of like stacks for Bitcoin, right? Running up, you've got the JASMY being the ERC20. I agree. A lot of the BTC pairing coins, the BRC20s, so to speak, are running, with Bitcoin kind of thing, stronger than anything else. And I agree with you about Ethereum as well. I think that if they don't start to deal with the scaling, the fees, the transaction times and stuff like that, these other layer 1s are going to continue to chip away at the market cap. I think that the only reason that that Ethereum is where it's at right now is because, projects such as XRP were very, very suppressed, right? With the lawsuit and stuff like that. And Hinman giving that speech, kind of giving the green light for Ethereum. Would Ethereum even be where it is today if it wasn't for these kind of legs up, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially see Hinman, those photos with, he's literally, him and his family are like in the same photo with metallic butyrate and so on. It's like, yeah, that is, we talk about CZ with manipulation when it comes to the JASMY and, the innovation zone. Bill Hinman with the whole thing with Ethereum from top to bottom is the craziest example, but a true example of manipulation.
Yeah, 100%. And then with the Ethereum ETFs, well, I agree with you about Ethereum mostly being garbage. It is going to be just as much of a catalyst for the entire asset class as the Bitcoin ETFs were. I mean, right now we're seeing most of the buying pressure going solely into Bitcoin, but look what's happening as a result. It's pulling up the entire market. Like I was telling a lot of my followers, like, we're not even in altcoin season or anything. All this, for the most part, all this altcoin action is because Bitcoin is just this buying pressure, and it's not slowing down is the thing, right? And Ethereum, from what I understand, the deadline for Gary and the SEC to either approve or deny this Ethereum ETF is May 23rd, I want to say. And it's no different than the target of January 10th for Bitcoin's ETF, because it's shit or get off the pot, so to speak. There's no more delaying the application at that point. And if they do deny, are they just going to get sued by 7 or 8 different, BlackRock, Fidelity, and Grayscale and stuff because of it? Are we going to do this whole song and dance again?
Yeah, nobody really knows that, but one thing I got more into, and I really don't want to go off kilter here, and I talked about this on my show. Stellar came out with a white paper, a new white paper. And the reason why that's so significant is because it's not saying it's a white paper as far as like XLM with the lumens, but it's a white paper that lays down like the groundwork as far as what the US government needs to do for proper regulations. And even looking more into it, even though it's not called this, it's everything that Taro Kono talked about in regards to DFFT. But the proposal, let's face it, that just like You know, you have Democrats and Republicans, and they kind of butt heads, but now you kind of see it kind of coming together somewhat. That's politically driven, but I don't want to make a big conspiracy. Anybody's welcome to look more into it. It's literally Stellar's last white paper in regards to, and there's constant references of them working the U.S. government, like literally says U.S. government on it. And so I'm thinking it from that perspective. But back to the whole thing about this ETF. So get this, right? I used to think in my head, because last cycles and so on, that Ethereum represents, as far as smart contracts, all smart contracts are like 80% is Ethereum. It's not. The last report that I saw was about roughly a month ago, says that I think it's like 20, it fluctuates, 25 to 31% of all smart contracts that are out there as we speak are still Ethereum. Okay. Solana has put a dent into that, I think with theirs is like 5% or something like that. But again, forget that. 25 to 31% is on Ethereum. So what do you think was going to happen in regards to, back to the whole topic of what we just mentioned in regards to BTC and, spot ETF, right? And then Ethereum spot ETF, right? That in itself, some people said the whole ETF is a nothing burger. I get that. On the short term it is. But long term speaking, by the time, like we were talking about earlier, late 2024, 2025, especially the whole thing of $1 for JASMY. Yeah, Jesse, I love your points of view, brother. All right. I'll never disrespect you in a million years. It's just a different point of view. I honestly think, conservatively speaking, we get to $1, but if we don't have these catalysts, we're not at the layer 2 yet. We're still talking about it. We're not at the Web3, solution with Polkadot. We're still talking about it. Then there's no way, because that's not utility in motion. That's just talking about future utility. Anyway, back to you guys.
Go ahead, Jesse. You've been quiet, buddy. What are your thoughts? Something's brewing.
No, I was just sitting here listening. Yeah, I agree with you. I think all those are big catalysts, and it's not a nothing burger. It's significantly massive, is what it is. The ETF idea, and the reason why it's so big is that it taps into all that potential that's sitting out there in retirement accounts right now, that are in traditional stocks, right? I mean, that's kind of what that opens the door to. And there's a colossal amount of money. And if that money floods into crypto, then everything goes up with it. So regarding an Ethereum ETF, as far as I know, there's still the lawsuit in New York about whether Ethereum's a security, yes or no. I would be surprised if Gary approved it while that lawsuit is still pending. Now, I understand that maybe he can't drag his feet any further, but his track record to date is that's exactly what he does. So could that new catalyst come? For sure. One of my lines that I say all the time is, people don't suddenly become who they've never been, right? And I think in the crypto space, for the crypto space to become something it's never been, it needs to grow into uncharted territory that it's never done before. And maybe that is something like an Ethereum ETF following the Bitcoin ETF. I do know that Grayscale has applied for, I think they applied for all kinds of different things like that, like Solana, Cardano, Ethereum. And, you're absolutely right that the smart contracts on Ethereum, that's 100% true. Everybody, the way it used to always be was everybody would start on Ethereum, and then they run into the gas fee problem, right, that we were talking about earlier. And then all of a sudden the project isn't usable at all. And then at that point, they need to build their own chain and move on. That's the exact problem that JASMY has. That's why they're creating their own chain and moving on. Somebody asked earlier if they were behind. Yeah, they are behind a little bit, because originally they went with centrality and they thought that option would work. And then it turned out that wasn't going to work. So then they had to pivot over to their JASMY chain. So who knows? The Ethereum ETF, I mean, it could be another huge catalyst. And again, it's not going to happen overnight. Like I said earlier, the 14 billion in taking Bitcoin, that didn't happen day one. That's happened, over the course of 30 plus days later. But if you look at that over the course of just the beginning, and this is where it's starting, what's it going to look like in like 8 years from now? 12 years from now? I mean, it's going to be colossal compared to where it is today. I think that's definitely true.
Well, look what I just put on the screen there. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I was reading about this yesterday. U.S. banks have asked the SEC for permission to custody Bitcoin. I guess they're tired of not getting a slice of the pie, right? So this just kind of holds hands, so to speak, with the whole ETFs and the buying pressure going in. I mean, this would be just as monumental, in my opinion, if banks are now starting to get permission to custody Bitcoin and possibly Ethereum.
Oh man, that's a whole big can of worms in itself. Because I mean, if you think about this, right? We talk about ETFs. With ETFs, you're having investors, obviously exchange traded funds, right? So I'm thinking of like people are just like, I don't know about crypto, but I heard there's this ETF, and I know it sounds like the Bitcoin's gonna get involved with stocks, that type of like narrative, like, huh? But in reality, that is an enabler for mainstream to come into this. And that's what we're like, hey, great, because that brings an influx of volume, et cetera, et cetera. But this statement here, breaking news, U.S. banks have asked the SEC for permission to store Bitcoin. This is going to be an absolute catch-22 because, for one, like your Michael Saylors of the world who are BTC maxis are going to be like, well, this creates more supply and demand for actual BTC. I mean, he calls it Bitcoin, but anyway, for Bitcoin, because that's the whole point, is self-custodying your crypto or your Bitcoin, and that right there tells me, well, with the ETF, that will be their, I guess you could say, their key to opening up this can of worms or this Pandora's box of saying, well, you guys want ETFs. People who are into ETFs come from the stock world. So therefore, yeah, SEC or banks asking the SEC, we want to enable this and take custody. Does this have to do also with like the concept of, what is it, guys? The U.S., where I'm going with this. It's $250,000 worth of insurance on, I'm drawing a blank now.
FDIC insurance.
Yes, all that stuff. Exactly. So I don't know. But this right here does maybe allow for a lot more of influx of volume. Because at the beginning, all this was nothing burger, right? All of us were like, oh, yeah, eat. Everybody. I mean, I'm guilty of it too, right? Like, the ETS, yes. Oh, my God, tons of money going to come in. And we saw a little taste of that. But then it was a big nothing burger. Now with this, does it reverse? Because think about it. It instills trust and confidence for a crowd, not us, but your grannies, your aunts, and so on. Who are thinking about like, I'll give it a chance, but they want that insurance. So that's just my own key takeaway. It's obviously going. This is a big story. So anyway, back to you guys.
I think that this is also another step forward in eliminating crypto exchanges for the most part and shifting custody over to these banks and entities, BlackRocks and stuff like that, because, well, for one, they want to make the money. They don't want guys like CZ in here becoming multi-billionaires. Screw that, right? We want that money. So I think this alludes to possibly even more attacks on exchanges and getting these exchanges out because they just don't. A lot of them are from overseas and stuff like that as well, right? Out of the jurisdiction of the SEC, CFTC, and all that other stuff. So I think that, yeah, it's another step forward into that. And I think, honestly, at the end of the day, it's a double-edged sword because on one hand, it's TradFi, right? Essentially coming in, and which is a anti-crypto, right? Well, it's crypto's anti them, is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, I personally am from the position of we need proper safeguards and regulations in place. There's too many people getting ripped off and hacked and scammed, and like it's too much.
This is also, I agree, it's too much, and there's going to be proper regulations at some point, whether whoever follows the stellar blueprint that they put out. My key thing is recognizing that, like the whole thing before Ripple had the 2/3 victory over the SEC. Before that ruling came into place, there was a narrative, and I'm sure you guys seen that narrative too. And that was, well, if Ripple loses completely, okay, that's a big loss for crypto, whether we're invested into XRP or not. It's a loss for crypto, and obviously the win was a win for crypto. My point I'm trying to make was before that ruling, right? It was like, well, at some point Ripple would have to leave the United States and to say the hell with, I guess you could say the US and the SEC and so on, and just take it overseas to, someplace in Europe. Maybe like, Liechtenstein or something like that. Because, how regulations, they embrace crypto. Okay. So are we back to this whole topic again? Because I mean, if you think about it, what is going to happen with everybody else that's outside the United States? They're going to be like, well, the hell with the US and the SEC. Bitcoin is not supposed to be centralized. And if anything, they're going to be like, this is a true commodity. And then there's that whole crowd of people, right? And I get that. Again, this is going to cause a huge stir. Now, does it cause it so much in which the market tanks? I don't know. But I will go back to the whole thing I was originally saying, that is the concept of this whole thing with the ETS. Because, again, you can't have your cake and eat it too. This gets into place. It gets introduced. There will be more massive volume of people, that'll be comfortable with that. Again, like your Aunt Mays, your grannies, and so on, that just don't even know what the heck all this stuff is anyway. They don't know what distributed ledger technology is. Are you kidding me? So there's that. But again, to me, I think it's a open up a can of worms again, and it's Pandora's box. We'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I think TradFi is against crypto when it is not compliant and or high risk, right? And the moment it becomes compliant, all of a sudden TradFi is going, hey, we can make some money off of this, right? I think it's I think it was the CEO of BlackRock. He's a great example of that. That there's numerous interviews of him over the last 5-6 years where he was completely anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin. Now he's singing a complete opposite tune. And, the other thing that you can't miss I think in this conversation.
I froze up there for a second. What person was this? I didn't mean to interrupt you, Rob. Or Jesse. What was that you're saying?
It's the CEO of BlackRock.
Oh, Larry Fink. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, exactly. Look him up and you can see where the narrative has changed with him, right? But the other flip side of this coin is that as retail, I think most people out there don't realize how slim the margins are that these banks are operating on, your regional banks, et cetera. And, that was really highlighted in 2023 when, various bank runs were happening and the banks were dropping like flies one after the other, right? And so I think from a banking perspective, if there's a whole nother asset class, a whole nother pot of money that is compliant and therefore low risk, and you can tap into that as a bank, you would be crazy not to. So I see the banks absolutely pursuing this, and a lot of them probably changing their tune on crypto if they can start making money on it.
Again, yes, 100% agree. And you know how we were talking about pairings for, we want to see JASMY do like, JPY stablecoin. Think about this for a second. You want to talk about pairings, right? These are the banks of the US. So that right there, you have the enablers, whether it's USDC or some of these other ones, right? It's like the pairings with Bitcoin, and then that influx of bringing in all this capital, if you will, to various different banks that, you know, obviously got the SEC's permission to do what it says right here. You know, they realize that, you know, there's this new monetary system coming. There's this radical shift. I mean, the way I look at it is it's kind of like the last time to still keep that traditional money in the system by creating, come on, guys, control. That's all it is. Keep control and still making a lot of money at the same time.
Well, think of this also, that a lot of those companies are also publicly traded, right? So as a publicly traded company, you have the opportunity to make a lot more money on top of your existing bottom line or whatever you had projected. Why wouldn't you do it? Of course you would. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
any of these companies would.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's I agree with you guys. I think it's absolutely inevitable. I think it's baked in at this point. There's no way that that this doesn't happen. The banks don't start custodying Bitcoin and eventually baskets of crypto, in my opinion. It's just, it is what it is, right? And people have to either, and you know, some people are upset about it, but I mean, at the end of the day, what are we here for? Are we here on principle, or are we here to make our money and kind of go about our lives after that, right? That's what you have to really ask yourself. Like, I'm not the Dogecoin millionaire over here. I'm not going to hold my Doge up to $4 million and ride it back down to a couple 100,000. Right? That's not me. Right? I got
it wasn't me either, man. Everybody said, hey, hold it to, you know, last bull market. Oh, this is going to over $1. And I was looking at that chart and I'm like, I think we're at the tip of this right now. And I took it at like roughly 70 cents. And I was so glad I did, because, you know, I turned $300 in investment into Doge because I came in at a penny, and I turned that into about 23K. And I didn't listen. I stuck with my gut on that one. I'm so glad I did, because I don't even know if I'd be here right now if it wasn't for Doge or SHIB and some of those other ones. But yeah, everybody who's listening, always go with your gut. Do what's best for yourself and your family. Don't let any content creator, influencer, or where you want to call them, you know, tell you, like, I've seen guys in the past. I'm not going to mention any names, not any of you guys. I've seen guys do this in the past. I haven't sold any of my crypto. I think this is going to go, Shiba Inu is going to go to a penny. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Shiba Inu to a penny. That was when I was new, right? And I think there's a lot of retail people that did the same thing. They're like, I said to myself, yeah, I'm going to buy 1 billion of these. And if it goes to a penny, I'm worth $10 million, right? That's part of the journey of understanding tokenomics. You know, it's just not realistic.
I did the same journey that you had, but I wrote it with Shiba Inu. I plopped about $800 into it just before they gave like half the supply over to Vitalik Buterin or whatever, and I held it. $800, like I said, kind of just went sideways for like a year and a half, and then boom, popped up. I turned 800 into like 10 grand. And then one day it was going up every day. Every single day I was looking at the wife and I were looking at the portfolio. It's like, Jesus, SHIB's up again and again and again, right? And I said, you know what? One day I woke up, I said, you know what? It's like 10 grand for my SHIB now. I got to just sell it. I got to sell it. And everyone's saying, oh, it's like you were saying, it's going to a penny, right? I'm like, I got to sell. So I sold. No bullshit. And this isn't about talent or skill on the charts or anything like that. This was just a horseshoe right up my arse, right? And just
right.
The next day, 40% fall for SHIB.
But you live and you learn. I mean, me, I got lucky with it. It turned, you know, my 8K investment, which was at the time, I think it came in at like 0.50788 or 799. And then, yeah, I put like 8K into it, you know, crypto.com basically. And then, yeah, you know, roll that sucker up to like, what was it? You know, 4 zeros, 88, 89 or whatever it was. And so that was an 11X. It was 8K to 88K. And people were like, it's going to go to 3 zeros. And I'm like, the hell it is. It's not going to do that. I don't see that doing that, you know, and I'm glad I went with my gut on that one too. The other one I went with my gut on, it didn't make as much. It was Crow. Everybody was like, yeah, Crow's going to go to $2. I'm like, no, it's not going to go to $2. and I put $1,700 into Crow, rolled that up to a little over 10,000. I took my profits on that. So yeah, I didn't become rich in 2021, 10K to 120K, but I said to myself, look, I am a school teacher, especially in Arizona. We don't make that much money. I have big hopes and dreams just like anybody else. I got to research this stuff more. I got bit by the crypto bug. And as a result, I can't shut up about any of this stuff anymore. So there you go.
It's interesting you mentioned Crow because I wanted to get both of your thoughts on this. Is that I keep getting asked about Crow and if I hold any, if I'm going to buy any. And I got to be honest, guys, like I like Crow. I do. I like the exchange. I don't really use it. I have an account. I've never actually funded it, but from everything I know about crypto.com, I don't really have any reservations about it. That being said, I just cannot bring myself to pick up any Crow because it's got me uneasy that throughout the last 3 years and all these lawsuits being launched and all these accusations being thrown around by Gary and the SEC, not once has crypto.com been mentioned by anybody. You've seen all these other exchanges attacked, Kraken and Binance and Coinbase and everybody else, right? Even the smaller players that have been forced to go bankrupt and stuff like that because of it. But nobody has mentioned crypto.com. Why is that?
It's probably just a matter of time, to be honest, with crypto.com. Binance US was kind of what I think maybe started getting Binance in trouble over here. Kraken is based in San Francisco. They're larger US footprints. Now, there's other exchanges that have kind of gotten in hot water, like KuCoin. That one kind of got in trouble a little bit. That one's South Korea, and they totally pulled out of the US.
They sure did. I had a lot on there.
I did too, and I loved KuCoin, and I used it all the time, and it royally.
It's still my favorite one. It was to me. Some people complain about it. To me, it was the most easiest one with the cheapest fees and the best staking. And I'll confess, I still do staking there. You want to know why? Because there's like little loopholes. Basically, as long as you like you can send US, what was it, Tether and some of these other ones, you can't just buy it straight from there. So you can still get things, and then you can still move things to certain wallets over there, and you can still stake. It's kind of like you're grandfathered into a sense. But I've earned about 4 million Luna Classic just from staking over there and pulling it out every week and putting it back in, kind of like a compounded interest. But yeah, I still like KuCoin, man. I'm with you on that. It was such an easy exchange to use.
Yeah, I liked it. And I kind of wish they would have put up a bigger fight than simply just saying, oh, yeah, we're pulling out of the US and kind of shutting everybody down. Because the other thing I liked about it was they also got a lot of coins early, a lot of new stuff early. You could get in, really early on that. That was nice. Yeah. Anyway, going back to crypto.com, I had mentioned to Rob before that I tried using crypto.com multiple times, and I had multiple TradFi banking problems where they would lock down my account, and you see you were sending money to Gibraltar. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm just trying to use crypto.com, right? And most of the exchanges are in these sort of like offshore tax haven, the laws aren't 100% clear, but they're free of the US. I get it. The weird thing with crypto.com though is I want to say when they put their name, what was it, like the Staples Center was crypto.com. It was
correct. Yeah. Where the Lakers and the Clippers play.
Yes. Yeah. Crypto.com. And so I know they were pushing pretty hard. I think they had a commercial with Matt Damon there at one point in time.
Matt Damon.
Yeah. How you like them donuts? I'm sorry. Right. Anyway, Matt Damon. But going back to Crow. So one thing with crypto.com, you got to admit this. I mean, they're resilient, right? I mean, they're still around. They've been around a long time. Still here. So maybe Crow does get a bigger footprint at some point, but I think the foundation of Crow is like a small ownership structure overseas Gibraltar, and that kind of maybe that's what's holding them back a little bit. Whereas, like if you were based in Europe, for example, it's not that big of a deal, but over here it kind of is, you know.
So are you saying that the CEO of crypto.com needs to team up with Monty Metzger of the Liechtenstein Exchange?
Hey, maybe. Yeah. Hey, you know what I noticed? I don't know if you've seen this, Max. Coinbase would never ever list BNB. They would not do it, right? Binance was a competitor. They will not list them. Today, they actually list quite a few exchange tokens from exchanges that are kind of like not quite on their level. I don't know if you've seen that. Like LCX, for example, is on there.
Oh yeah, they also do with VGX. I remember having VGX on my Coinbase wallet, and that's a distressed asset. So I don't know if they did that during the time of like when VGX was good, but it does make you wonder.
Yeah, kind of does. So anyway, I think there's still potential in Crow. I like that it's resilient, but I think they need to maybe come out of the shadows a little more and become a little more legitimate.
Yeah. I think they're going to be more than fine personally. I was going to say, I did like an outline about exchange tokens. I think it's just my opinion. Saucer swap, sauce, huge upside potential in that regard. I mean, really low market cap. We talk a lot about these ones that are like potential blue chips, right? But like I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, last bull market exchange tokens did extremely well. Heck, even Uniswap. I'm not a big fan of Uniswap, right? But once Uniswap goes to a V4, anybody can Google this. Type in Uniswap V4, 99% savings on gas fees. You're trying to tell me at the height of the bull run, there's not going to be a bunch of garbage meme tokens out there? Of course there's going to be. And people will go back to Uniswap, and they'll especially go back there if they can see something in which says 99% savings. What do you think that's going to do to the exchange token? Probably to the moon, right? So I was like, I'll pick up a few of these. There's some other ones, that did well last bull market or bull run, like the KuCoin token. But yeah, man, sauce. I mean, it's so low market cap and such huge upside potential.
That's a DEX on HBAR, isn't it? Hedera?
Yeah, but I mean, they have they have solutions to real problems. Like there's this one thing, I won't get too into it because I don't want to control this. And I have to go. I'm 37. My buddy's been waiting for me 37. He's going to say, you were on a crypto show for a long time, weren't you? I know, you make me wait 37 minutes and be like, because I'm passionate about this stuff. You've been passionate about this stuff for the longest. All right, I get it. So sorry to my buddy. It's been waiting 37 minutes for me to finish up. But my thing was, look this thing up, you guys. If you're really interested, it's called MEV bots, MEV bots, and MEV bots control manipulation. And when we talk about like manipulating what's happened in previous bull markets and so on, where you see, for instance, somebody puts in an order and like all of a sudden, as quick as you can buy, the market dumps and so on. We've seen this time and time again. Hedera has some things in place to fight against these bots, and it's on their platform for saucer swap. To me, that's game changer. And on top of it, extremely low gas fees, right? Like, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? So I'm looking at it from the perspective of this, and I'm not paid by them. If anybody's wondering that, I'm not paid by anybody. But the way I look at it, it's opportunity. Very low market cap, huge upside potential because exchange tokens do have value, and especially at the height of a bull market, it's worth looking into. I did this outline. You can check it out on my channel, Maximus Crypto. I know it's a promotion for me, but check it out. I have a whole outline that shows you previous bull market, the tokens. We compare Uniswap, all this stuff. Hedera's saucer swap. I just really think I'm really bullish on it. I recently got into it, and I just think there's huge upside. I mean, come on. I mean, even if it does a $1 billion market cap, wow, what a rate of return. Anyway.
Where can you pick it up right now?
You can get so you can do, for example, Hedera hash pack. You know, you install the app. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. Let me pull up Sauce. I know it's a funny name, but they call it Saucer Swap. Let me share this real quick on my screen, and then I really got to go. But yeah, here's the markets you can get it on. So if you want to go with centralized, you can go with MEXC, but I would highly recommend just go with the Saucer Swap platform, right? And look at the pairings. I mean, you could buy Sauce with HBAR. You could buy Sauce with some of these other things, Karate, Pepe, and they have so many different pairings, and it's so cheap, you know, because think about it, it's literally Hedera. See the contract? See, it's not Ethereum. This is on Hedera hash graph, you know. It's worth looking into. And as far as market cap, unconfirmed market cap, 85 million. It was actually a lot less, you know, last week, but it's been up 15%. What was the other thing I was going to mention, you guys? Only look at this. Only 1 billion max supply. I mean, we're not talking about some meme token with trillions. You know what I mean? So that's
crazy.
Yeah, it's worth looking into.
Give us a plug of your channel before you go, brother. And before you do, real quick, we got to do this again. Do you want to host next time?
Yeah, I mean, I could do that, or you know, if Jesse, whoever. I'm not the type of guy that's like, you know, it's got to be me or something, you know. But yeah, we can do that. We'll have to figure out a time that works out for all of us and go from there. Here's my channel, by the way. So if you guys are wondering, you know, what I normally cover, I saw some of you guys in the comments. I want to give a shout out to some of you guys. So KK, thanks for being here, brother. Tim Shea, who sprays from far away. You know, the mayor of crypto, the crypto commissioner, Tim Shea, represent the 589th district of the XRP Army. I always say it like that. Corey Bibe, thank you so much for being here. I'm just, you know, recognizing some people I recognize. I think we also have, Corey Bibe, Terrell. There's some other people I probably didn't mention, but yeah, thank you so much for being here. David Schickman, I remember you as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, I do a live show. It's Monday through Thursday, unless something happens like bad internet or something. I got a brand new modem, so I don't see that happen again. But yeah, I do Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. The channel is Maximus Crypto 2690, technically. Obviously, I consistently cover JASMY. I cover Quant a lot. I've been talking about BSV, whether you're for BSV or not. You think the guy's fake Toshi, whatever you want to call it. The way I look at it is it's the utility. There's no denying the TPS. I mean, come on, Terranode itself, over 2 million TPS. They're going to scale up to billions of TPS. That's just nuts. You know, we talk about, you know, and I love JASMY, but scaling up to like, what is it? Like Optimism, 1500 TPS. That's not a drop in a bucket compared to what BSV can do. But anyway, I cover obviously Casper, anything with utility I cover. There actually is going to be a meme token I will cover, only because I was like, I missed out on Floki last bull run, right? And I feel like this is my second chance at Floki. And because, listen to this, it's got 100% perfect score on Token Sniffer. I never talk about meme tokens for the most part, but this one really impressed me. And I thought, yeah. And the whole thing I tied into like Elon Musk, you know, how like he names his dogs. So there's that too. But I won't keep talking. You know, it's so fun being here with you guys. I want to stick around longer, but I want to respect my friend. He's going to be like, I knew it.
Yeah, we definitely got to do this again. This is a lot of fun. I love doing this kind of thing. I do.
And knowing that, it's finally, wow, you know, we're not worthy. We're not. I finally got to be on camera, share the, you know, stream with the legend, Jessie of Keeping It Real Finance. Keeping It Real since 1982. Max has been keeping it real since 1981. And the way I look at it is, Crypto Future Rob's obviously keeping it real. We are a community of blockchain and DLT enthusiasts and so on. And I'm really looking forward to coming on again with you guys and so on. But yeah, Jesse, I mean, come on, man. Yoda, you know, Yoda.
I've been keeping it real since about 11:30.
I've been keeping it real since 1:30 last night, and I'm dying, but I'm doing my best. I'll probably drink a cup of coffee here in a bit. So,
all right, buddy. When you want to do this again over on your channel, just I guess DM me and Jesse, and we'll set it up.
You know what we need to do real quick before I leave is we'll come up with a really cool thumbnail. You know what I mean? And I'll try to crop you guys' heads on like some samurais or something like that, and then we'll have the title will say, "Just be not the scum. Let's go." You know what I mean? I mean, it'd be great, right?
Love it, bro. Love it.
Right. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, you guys give a follow to Crypto Future, Jesse, and thank you so much, everybody in the comments, whether you know me or not. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for having me here, Rob, tonight. You're an awesome individual. Jesse, keeping it real. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. If you have tomorrow off, awesome. If you don't, then it's okay.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. You know what I mean? So,
all right.
All right, brother.
Yeah, Max.
All right. Sayonara from the Rice Crop Consortium. Let's go. All right. Peace out.
Peace. Oh boy. Yeah. Max is good people. Love Max for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was gonna say I'm probably gonna drop off here too in a few minutes. It is getting a little bit late here where I'm at.
Wife was texting me about an hour ago that supper was ready.
Yeah, that's how it goes on these conversations sometimes, you know. For a long time with Jasmy, we were doing these conversations on Twitter, and we'd do them with audio. And I always kind of thought, I'm like, you know, I'd really like to take it to video. So it's kind of cool to actually, you know, do that with everybody here. So that was pretty neat. You know, Max and I have been talking for a while, but have never been on a stream together. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of get lost. And you know what? What I'm trying to do, I've said this to a lot of my followers real quick, is that you see other like I see other influencers and stuff, and they're kind of doing like these three-way and dual kind of streams and stuff like that to kind of talk about their favorite project, whatever it is. And there's a real, as you like to say, there's a real gap when it comes to Jasmy for that kind of thing. So I'm really trying to create a collaboration community, not just for us, but also for the Jasmy community, where they can engage with all of us. And they, you know, like a lot of people say in the chat, I don't know if you've been following, it's like, you know, dream team, Jasmy dream team kind of thing. And they, you know, they like it too. So it's like, you know, it's fun.
Yeah, that was a good conversation. I know we covered a lot.
Yeah. Honestly, I was when the wife asked me earlier, it's like, well, how long are you going to stream? I said, I was expecting it to be long. I was expecting to be like probably 3 or 4 hours. I kicked the whole day aside. So I was like, who knows how long it'll go, right? The rabbit hole will take you.
I know. I think usually with me, it's kind of like my voice can take about 2 to 3 hours, and then I'm toast. And we're kind of right at about that point where I'm like, sort of like, I'm ready to be about done, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Just lastly here, like I noticed, you had said to me, you don't really do much streaming anymore, eh?
Well, for a while, you know, this is funny. On my channel, I didn't do any streaming, okay? And a lot of that started, if you follow any of my videos, I had an iMac that was ancient, right? Like a really old iMac. And at the time when I bought the iMac new, you know, and I've been using it ever since. And it just got to the point that it was like every program had moved past it, right? So it took me a little while, and I was finally like, all right, I'll get a new computer. So now I've got the new, I've got the M1 chip. I mean, this thing's lightning fast. And, you know, it's funny that Max was talking about his internet going out. I've been having issues with the internet too. My office is upstairs. I have a 2-story house, and the router is downstairs, right? So one of the things that I started doing over the weekend, which is why the couch behind me isn't against the wall, is I've been fishing cords through the wall, and I'm hardwiring it, you know? So anyway, so that's a roundabout way of saying why I wasn't doing live streams at all. And it really had to do with that. So now that my technology is finally, you know, where it should be, I don't really have any problem with it. Honestly, live streaming is a lot easier than a lot of the videos that I normally make. They normally take, you know, research all day long and editing and all this stuff, and this is a lot simpler. It's a more fun conversation, and you know, I like to get together with everybody else too, and you know, just kind of shoot the shit. So that's kind of fun.
Well, yeah, it's fun too, because for me, like, you know, sometimes Max will be talking or you'll be talking, and then I'm just so into what you're saying, and they're like, okay, so I'll kick it over to you, Rob, and it's like, shit. I was listening to this. I forgot I was participating.
It's fun. And Rob, you got anything to add? Nope.
How about those Blue Jays?
Yeah.
Good times. All right, buddy. I'll leave. But if you do want to stream over on your side too, definitely let me know. Like if we can do like maybe take turns, like round robin it. To, you know,
That'd be
channel.
cool. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe we'll try something like that in the future.
Yeah, hit me up, brother. Let me know.
All right, man. Well, till next time.
Yeah, I'll fire you, Matt. Sounds good, brother. Keep it real. Since 11:30.
Yeah. Have a good night. See ya.
See ya. All right, guys, that will conclude it. We'll be doing more in the future, as you heard. Thank you guys for coming. Hit the like, subscribe to all 3 channels, guys. Their links are in the description as well. So make sure you check their channels out as well, guys. Both very, very solid guys, as you've seen. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.